Welcome in
Hello.
to this episode of API Vtuber Talks number 2. This time we're talking about AAPI, Femininity, and Fetishization. I'm your host, AtramentumX, Rice streamer and Vtuber, and we're joined today by 4 lovely femme-presenting Vtubers who are Asian American. This is a follow-up to last year's Series 1 episode on Asian masculinity. So we figured this year we'd actually talk to some femme-presenting folks and invite back some of last year's panelists, in addition to bringing on some new faces as well. So without further ado, let's get into introducing our panelists. We have with us this time around a co-host, actually. So Hime Sinda, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Hime or Senda. I am a Filipino manananggal VTuber, so I'm a comfy cryptid. I mostly specialize in building gunpla and miniatures, and doing ASMR and sharing my lore and my cultural background.
Thank you very much, Hime. Next up, making a return to the studio as a frequent guest of the Depths podcast, but on the first time on this series, we have Pocket Trash.
Whee! It's like you forgot I was Asian. It's crazy. I also would like to point out the fact that, excuse you, I am not American. Gosh,
Canadian.
So rude.
Canadian,
Rude,
Pan-American.
Yes.
Oh my god,
So-
Canadian erasure.
I know. Wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. Anyways, hello
I have a funny
everybody.
story
My
about
name
this.
is Pocket
You're
Trash.
just,
You can call me Pocket Pocky or yours if you want, little girl. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a Singaporean, Indonesian, Canadian VTuber. But if you ask my mom, she will just call us Chinese because she doesn't like to be known by that for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, hi.
We will definitely dig into that later. Fun fact, last year when I was planning this, I only invited Americans, and at the very last minute I invited a Canadian because I wasn't sure if we
Wow,
should invite
because you
Canadians.
think Canada should be a 50-second state? That's crazy. I can't believe you would say
Yeah,
I
we
can't
only have
believe you
50
do this
states.
That's crazy. It's
I've evolved in my thinking since then. We now have the Asian American
learned.
and Canadian VTuber network. We have added the Canadian to it too. And
Whee!
we've expanded to having 3 Canadians on the series this year. Welcome in, Pocky.
Wow. Ah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Making a return appearance on this series is Revity.
Hello, I'm Revity, a thirsty, nerdy, elegant dear VTuber. We play a lot of gotchas and RPGs over my channel. I love talking about nerdy things. I love talking about lewd things. We once talked about the existentialism of life and immediately pivoted to talking about safe anal sex practices in the course of 5 minutes.
Oh.
So if you want to know what my streams are like, there you go. Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me once again.
Having an existential crisis? Try
Uh-huh.
safe anal sex.
But-
Confirm.
Yeah.
We've
We
gotta
love
have you on the
first.
Depths
Oh,
A
then.
woman in education. You know what I mean?
We love to hear it.
We haven't had an anal episode yet on the Depths. Noted.
Well,
Hey, yo.
now you know.
If you want one.
Well, I'm
Oh, I
here.
have a great story.
I'm available.
I am experienced in both aspects, so you know.
Fair enough. It's wonderful to have you back, Revity. Also
It's great to be
making
here.
the first their first appearance on this pod is Xandria. Xandria, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Xandria, Draconic Angel VTuber. I wouldn't say I'm like fully into the lewdtuber aspect yet, but like lewdsome, you know, kind of towing the
Oh,
line.
same.
We're probably gonna jump over the line pretty soon here, though. So you know,
Okay.
yeah, we're gonna
Whatever
take that
makes you
leap. I'm
happy.
pretty sure.
Beautiful.
I used to be afraid of it because I had a lot of backlash when I first started getting lewd art. A lot of people were like pretty upset about that, but I've gotten over it and
Yeah,
I'm ready
yeah.
to take that leap. So
Amazing.
I will bite their ankles. I got you.
also, Atra, can you do me a favor?
You want to
Can
get scooted
you-
down a little bit? Yeah. I was like looking at you. I'm like, I need to scoot you down, but the minute I scoot you down, your wings gonna go over like Revity's face. Hang on.
That
if
was
you
okay.
use-
I'd
you can
love
use
to,
the other
I'd
mouse
love to be
button.
smothered by feathers.
And sorry, Zan, what was your
like, it won't
background?
pull you to the front. Oh, I'm Korean American.
Oh wait, did I not say? Oh, I forgot to say.
Tell us your background.
We got caught up in the lewd.
Oh yeah.
Korean American. Korean American.
I'm lewd American.
She's anal American, and that's what's important.
I'm Chinese American.
Oh.
Just gonna quickly readjust you guys.
Yeah,
The-
if you use the other mouse button, it won't pull the person to the front.
Yeah, just,
What?
the right mouse button just moves me, actually.
Oh. No,
Yeah.
it should.
Yeah, just moves me.
That's. Oh, I wonder if you changed your settings.
Possibly.
Oh.
Oh. Well,
Anywho, everyone feeling situated?
I feel great.
Awesome.
Oh, could you actually like inch me down a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. How's that?
And let me just.
Oh,
let me
our
just
knees are
slouch a little
touching.
more. Perfect.
Knees touching. Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
It looks like we're holding hands.
That's the lewd activity going on under the table.
Lovely.
Yeah. Plap, plap, plap. Hold hands. Get pregnant.
So, chat, this is a
Excited
free-form
for today.
discussion. I will post a link shortly that is a anonymous question box if you want to ask questions anonymously to our panel, but be polite or I'll kick your ass. And you may ask questions in chat as well, but we have pre-prepared questions as well. Both Hime and I will be asking questions to the panel. I'm actually going to defer to Hime to ask the first question. Are you ready to ask the question, Hime?
Yeah.
Okay, go for
Well, was I ready? I don't know.
it.
I would say, okay, so we'll start with one of Audra's questions is, do you consider yourself an Asian woman that makes content or a woman that makes content that happens to be Asian? And I think this can be pretty deep, considering that we are using, our representation as VTubers and how you see yourself as your VTuber versus like if you do face cam stuff or how you portray yourself, outside of your VTuber as well.
I like the question.
I need to go
It's
to
a
the
nice
question
loaded
list. I need to
question.
reprocess this question because that's a lot
I
of
got
words.
you. Hang on. I
Somebody
will
else
say-
answer the question. I'll build off your answer.
I'm over here like hinting my fingers like I fucking cooked this question.
I was gonna say it's a good question.
I can-
I
oh,
will
you-
say for me personally, like I've never shied away from letting people know that I was Asian. I think for me personally, and like I don't want to say that it's like a general rule of thumb because like obviously like everybody's experience is very different. But for me personally, the idea of me being a creator who just happens to be Asian is in my head very similar to the whole like, oh well, I don't see color. And it's like, well, I need you to know that that's who I am, like a part of my identity, a part of who I am, even though I'm using a VTuber. A lot of my experiences in life are because I am an Asian woman. And because I don't stray away from like talking about certain things. Like I'm not I know some VTubers like to focus a lot on their lore and they're very like, oh, I'm playing a character on stream. I am purple and that's all I got. And so everything that I do on stream is very just me. And so like for me, it's very like I can't be me without acknowledging that I'm Asian, I guess. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, I think you nailed it, honestly.
I guess
Where do
I
you
have a
wanna go?
really I have a really particular take for mine because my model is centered so much on me being a manananggal, which is a representation of Filipino culture and mythology. But as a lewd creator, I've always just found myself being a woman that just made content that happened to be Asian, and I don't try to center my Asianness in my lewd content and my IRL content. But as a VTuber, I like sharing, the mysticism and the lore behind it. So it's it's like I have a split personality when it comes to it.
That's fair.
I think that's so cool though. I think it's so cool that you were able to base your concept on like mythology from your culture. Meanwhile, as you can see, I'm Eldritch, so that's not exactly a specific culture, it's just like spoopy. I think for myself, I honestly view myself more as a woman that creates content that happens to be Asian, not in part because I wish to hide it or anything. I very frequently mention the fact that I grew up in a Chinese American household, which doesn't form a lot of my personality traits and decisions that I make today. But in the same vein, I just don't really bring it up outside of that context. So I was very surprised when some people thought I was white. I was like, wait, did I not mention that before?
Oh no.
Did I not mention that before?
Mhm.
So I don't try to hide it, but I also completely forget to broadcast it. I think is what's going on with me.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same length where like it's not part of my content intentionally, right? Like I just kind of play video games. I try to have fun. It doesn't really like reflect myself very much, but when I do tell stories, right? I think the context that I grew up with a Korean grandma is kind of important when I trying to think of like anything in specific. Oh, like comments about weight, right, are very common when it comes to like Asian households. Right, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but
you're correct.
You get fed and then commented on.
So, like for example, when I went to leave for the military, she like told everybody I was too fat to leave. Like there was no way I got accepted, and that didn't really shock me. But I told that story on stream, and everybody was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "Oh, but no, hold on, but she's Korean. She's Korean." So. Obviously, I don't want to like defend that, but it's how she grew up. It's just how it's kind of built into the culture. So it comes up then. I never really run around going, I'm Korean. But if it comes up, it comes up.
Yeah, there is like no right answer to this question. It's more to sort of center, like to sort of like delve into the conversation, like just kind of see where we're at. Because like as VTubers, like you sort of have the benefit of having an avatar, so you can be as Asian presenting as you want, as you know, non-Asian presenting as you want, so to speak, in a way that like facecam streamers don't have that ability to be. So that's always the interesting thing, a bit of mask, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if I used a facecam, I know for sure like everyone would just first second would know I'm Asian.
Of course.
Which I guess like in some ways it would allow me to just more easily forwardly present as being Asian American, but in other ways I'm like, they're weirdos online.
So with that in mind, being that VTubers are essentially archetypes of anime girls, have you ever felt the pressure or expectation to act more Japanesey or like more, anime-ish because when chat has found out that you are in fact Asian?
I want to say no because I feel like it's in my tags. Like it's in my tags, and it's also just like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like any time. I think there was one time somebody like accused me of stealing Chinese culture. Because I was showing off my tattoo, and so on my thigh I have a tattoo of a phoenix with my middle name on it that my agong gave me. So it's like in Mandarin, and somebody came in my chat and was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird that you would do that. That like, I feel like you're really like stealing that culture." And I was like,
I'm crumpling over in pain over here. Oh my god! What am I hearing right now?
Like I'm not the like random person who's not Asian who goes to like Japan for like a day and suddenly comes back with a Japanese name. Like that's not me. I don't know. But like I think it was that moment that I was like, okay, maybe I bring this up more often. Because like I think for me it's very like like I think okay with East Asians typically, and even in my model, like I lighter skin than I am in person, and it's not because that was a choice. It was just I totally didn't even think about it. I was too busy looking at how cute she was, and I was like, yay. So it's not like for Atra, it's not like you're hiding or like you're like whiteifying, bleaching your skin kind of thing. But I think I let people know because I also have seen too many people in certain content creator spaces who like really like to lean into the whole like, oh, Asian culture, but then are definitely very white.
Yeah, I think
So I
there's
feel
a
like it's
fine line
opposite.
between
Yeah.
appreciation and appropriation.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
And they're yeah, that's where I stay.
Yeah,
Fair.
I feel like
Very
it's
valid.
so hard to draw like that sand in the line because you know VTubing culture is so deeply connected to Japanese culture. Like the terms like oshi and everything, they come from Japanese. So how normal is it for people like VTubers to appeal to that culture when they don't belong to it? But it's at this point, how much of it is Asian culture? How much is VTubing culture? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for a VTubing culture. Like, think of all the outfits and like what people wear or get art of, for example. Think of skebs. Think of like, you know, how many kimonos or yukata or like, you know, traditional Japanese outfits that
yeah.
like,
Whenever I
people
see
get.
like New Year's outfits.
Yeah. And it's
To the
not
same
like,
point. Oh,
yeah, I'll make a quick point. It's not like, you know, there are people in Japan that are like outraged by this at all, you know. In fact, like speaking for all of India, I'm joking, but I think like the average Indian person, like if they see you wearing like Indian clothes, they're like, hey, that's awesome. We love that. But like, you know,
I think
is
that
something
just plays into
yeah.
the idea of like the
appreciation.
experience of Asian Canadian, Asian American, or is very different than just like coming from Asia as a whole. So like I don't know, like if there was there's Singaporean VTubers that I've met that are like, yeah, like I think it's really cool when people are like really interested in that, and that's great. But I think a lot of, or at least, and again, I'm speaking from my experience. I grew up in a very white neighborhood and a very white space in Canada where being Asian wasn't a great thing. So now growing up and seeing those same people now being like, oh my God, I love boba tea. I love sushi. I love, you know, I love going for dim sum. I'm traveling to Asia. Like it hits a sore spot for me. So in VTubing specifically, as much as like I want to give people the benefit of the doubt and I want to like, you know, be like, oh yeah, they're probably just appreciating things. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like we could, like, I think you can still VTube without that. Like I've seen so many VTubers who like don't do that, and I'm like, oh, there are other
and they're still
options.
successful. They're still successful, and I do
Exactly,
see
yeah.
like a lot of, I would say, just like popular corpo VTubing and idol culture. I see a lot of Filipinos, especially, or even Filipino Americans that do take on, we're talking about that Japanesey type because it does sell, you know, in the East as well. And to me, I know mine is Hime, but mine is just from being cringe 2003, like my anime girl 93 email, and I became Hime Cinda. But it's not like, I would say, you know, making my name completely Japanese just to play this character.
You don't want to be Sakura Blossom.
I don't want to be Sakura Blossom.
I think there's a big portion of it that lies in respect. Right? Like, if I saw somebody wearing traditional Korean clothing that just from appearance was not Korean, if they're wearing it properly and it seems like they actually respect the culture, go for it. You know, hell yeah. Like, I love to see people talk about, like, different Korean dishes they've tried and, like, you know, sometimes they don't like it, sometimes they do, and that's, you know, everybody has their own taste.
Right.
But yeah, it's when they don't they obviously don't respect it and they're just using it as a tool.
Mhm. Or the like
That's where
sexualization of it.
yeah, that's
Yep.
where the problem lies, is like, yeah, like just as long as you're respecting the culture that it is being used, right?
Mhm.
Then, you know, then it is what it is. It's fine. But it's the few times I've seen it where it's like, you do not respect the culture. That's when it grinds my gears.
To that same point, when we talked about admiration and objectification being, femmes in online space, if we do lewd content, or as soon as your audience knows that you're Asian, do you find that they react in a certain way, where that line of admiration and objectification is either crossed or towed on?
I'll go last.
No.
Oh, that is
Sounds like a first
I'll
answer
breathe
to me.
first.
sounds like a story.
So I was unfamiliar with so where I grew up was very much a mixing pot. So I'd never really seen that, like what you guys have been talking about, the fetishization of somebody being Asian, or even particular like nationalities of Asian. There's their own things going on there. A guy recently tried to hook up with me because I was Korean, and I found that out through a friend. And I was talking to this guy for like over a year.
Oh.
Dinky! Chop his balls off!
Yeah,
We ride at dawn, chat.
Yeah, they were
Correct.
like, "Oh, I figured you're gonna reach out to me about this guy because you had the Korean flag in your profile." And I sat down and I was like, "Everybody take 10."
I can't.
And by everybody, I mean myself and the voices in my head. So, yeah, apparently he was really into Koreans, and it's fine to have a type. But if that's the only reason you reached out to me,
But your type can't be like Korean though. That doesn't make sense.
See, okay, I hate it when people are like, "Oh, well, my type is Korean girls." Why?
what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean exactly?
We're not a monolith.
Or they'll go, "My type is Asian girls," and I'm like, "Do you realize how big Asia is?" Like,
Right.
like Cinda,
like,
who
does
is
that include
Filipino, is gonna
Russians?
look different than me, who's Indonesian Singaporean. You know what I mean? And like even me, who is like Indonesian Singaporean, I don't look anything like a lot of the people in Singapore. They're like some of them are a lot darker than me, some of them are lighter than me. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like if you told me your type is short, bossy Asian girls, maybe you have a point. Then maybe I understand you.
You
okay?
have a trope. You're really interested in a trope.
Right. Then I kind of get you. But if your type is all Asian girls, then I'm like, what are you talking about?
All of them.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
All
if
of
someone
them
says their type is Asian girls, they probably just mean like cute, petite Chinese, Korean, or Japanese.
They want a
girls.
mail order bride
Yes.
from China.
Yeah. Or they want the
I
girls
have
to
a
see in porn.
Yep.
Honestly, yeah.
Oh gosh, but those are more diverse now.
True.
I have a similar
God.
story.
The diversity
Go
of
ahead.
porn. Sorry, go on.
That's
Go,
for
go, go,
another
go, go.
podcast. I had a similar date before that took me out, and I thought we were getting to know each other. I mean, I've been married for a really long time now, but and I have a Sailor Mars tattoo on my forearm that this guy did, and we went out to eat, and I'm very Filipino, but I used to look more like, I'm ethnically ambiguous, I would say, but I used to look more Eastern Asian before I got work done. And we go to a place, and it was a place where you use chopsticks, and he was like, "What kind of chopsticks do you like? Do you like metal or wood? Because I like wood because it's better, has better grip." And I looked him in his eyes, and I was like, "I don't know. I'm Filipino. I use a fork and spoon. Like I just eat like I just like eat like this when I go out." And it was like really awkward because he had already done my tattoo, and then we go to the car, and he's like, "Well, can I have a kiss?" And I was like, "I'm good." And then I got in my car and left and never looked back.
Oh, good for you.
But it was like we were having such a good rapport up until that moment where I was like, "Oh, he just is obsessed with me because I have this aesthetic, and he doesn't care about anything else."
We
What
should have
kind of
asked him if
chopstick
he
you like,
prefers,
girl?
like,
Yeah.
metal or plastic cutlery. Like, what do you? What? What kind of question is that? That's such a random question too. Like,
So,
what
boy,
do
you like
mean?
sporks?
You like butter knives or
So that she like
steak
clipping the
knives?
food with chopsticks.
Oh
Like, hey, are you wet yet?
God.
Are you wet yet?
Like I use my hands.
Oh
Oh,
my god.
God.
I'm imagining him trying to come up with like dirty talk about chopsticks. You're like, oh yeah, metal
I'll
chopsticks.
chop your
ooh."
stick.
Oh,
On
he'll
our
say extra
anniversary, I'll
long
buy you
cooking
the jade
chopsticks.
chopsticks. Oh,
That's such a funky
Has anybody had
question.
any similar experiences like online though? I can't really say because again, my identity is pretty out there, but if anybody has found out that you're Asian like online and then acted
So
a certain way.
weirdly enough, I actually had more fetishization in IRL life than when people on. I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, people who are online, they're so creepy, like, you know. And don't get me wrong, there are those people out there. There's a lot of those like people hiding behind anonymity and all that. But I was a sugar baby for a bit, and I would get that from like these old dudes being like, oh yeah, you know, I've always wanted like an Asian sugar baby. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're paying me, I'll let you say this shit, but just know we met under different circumstances. I would push
We're throwing
you
hands.
So
Like,
I
I
actually
don't
have a
know.
question about that, Pocket. Like, to what extent did you like sort of lean into that as a sugar baby?
Atra's asking if I slept with old men. I did
No,
sleep with
no, no,
old
no,
men
no,
for
no,
nice
no,
stuff.
no.
Lead into the Asianness.
No, obviously, if you were marketing yourself
Get that back,
as a
girly.
sugar
That's
baby,
right.
were you like, hey, I'm like your Asian sugar baby, whatever, or were you
I like
you know?
they didn't even want me to do like, as far as I know, they never actually asked. Like they never pushed into the like, oh, will you wear this like cheap how for me? I'd be like,
Oh.
like I don't like they never actually asked any of that. It was more just like I think they just enjoyed the look of these
Right.
like, you know, older middle-aged white guy CEOs coming to a party with this cute little Asian girly on their arm. You know, like I think that stereotype of like old white man with young Asian girl for some reason makes some of these old men think that it makes them look better. And I'm like, it just kind of looks like you're a pedophile. Like I don't know what you want. Like I don't know. So I like, and the thing is like I make the joke that I'll lean into the fetish if you're paying me enough.
Yeah, get that
Like
back.
if right, like
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're gonna like, don't talk.
No,
to
I don't
me
hate on
like
you at
that,
all. Get that
right?
money.
Like if you're gonna talk to me like that, you have to at least give me a nice stack. You know, you can't just like be dropping pennies. You know, that's crazy. So like even on Fansly, which is like a new adventure that I'm on, you know, like lewd tubing is a very new thing or new-ish for me. And like I'll tag my shit as like hashtag Asian because, you know, if you're gonna pay for my content, sure, I'll lean into it. But I actually haven't had, even on Fansly, I haven't had anybody like really lean into it. So I don't know if I'm like just like lucky. I don't know, because I definitely think there's people out there.
There has to
like,
be.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
definitely out there.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And is your like blue site content more you IRL or is it with the model? Do you
Yeah,
think-
I probably should have specified that. Yeah, I stream with the model, but all of my content on Fansly is mostly IRL pics. So it's like faceless photos, but like they can tell, I think, at least. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna go as far as to say that, like, oh, Asians are yellow-skinned, I would hope you would be able
Right.
to tell.
Yeah, I was gonna
but, like,
say it's the yellow. Is it the yellow?
yeah, right. Like, oh my god, I feel like I've gotten more fetishization from sugar daddies and for random like online dating dudes, where they'll
Yeah.
just like drop the like, oh, yellow fever on you, and I'm like,
What?
yeah,
That's a
wait,
new term for me.
Oh, really?
Really? That's man.
What?
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
It's been around
Oh,
for a
that's
while.
okay.
No.
I'm geriatric.
All I could think of is
This is
what's
the
what's
discourse
this,
back in like 2009.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and it's
Do-
still a
Something
thing, which is
fever.
crazy.
Yeah.
What's that song? Uranium
The
fever.
first
That's
thing
all
I
I can think
think
of.
I hate
But
I
yeah.
hate myself for this,
Yeah.
but the first thing I think of when I hear yellow fever is that one reference in fucking Honey Pop of all things.
Stop!
When, like-
Oh my lord, stop! The like second game where she's just like this white girl who gives herself an Asian name.
Oh my
Is
god,
that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
No. I was thinking
We
about
can
the
give
first
ourselves
one.
names. That's
Oh
a
my
thing we can
God.
do.
Bro, she's I forget what her whole thing is, but she's like the most annoying character in the entire series. And she's just like she spray
Oh.
tans herself orange, calls herself Suki,
Oh.
and asked the Hawaiian girl in the game if she could try her sushi.
Yeah, wait,
And
yeah,
she's like,
one-
I'm not Japanese.
if she can try her,
I think
like out of
I
context,
think she said
just
she was
like,
Polynesian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think so.
then-
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I think her actual name was
so
like Sarah.
she
I
was
think.
Islander.
It is. It's Sarah, but she calls herself Suki.
Oh.
Her whole voice lines too are her doing what we did at the beginning of stream, where she's just like Konnichiwa. Let me tell you all about my anime.
Annyeonghaseyo.
Yes, yes, really, it is the most.
Oh.
It's grating. I love Honey Pot, but not that.
Oh yeah.
Don't Google
I
it.
love
chat.
Honey Pop. It's so bad, but it's so good in a way.
Yes,
You know?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. I
right.
don't think I've
Oh.
honestly faced as much fetishization ever since moving to the VTuber sphere. But honestly, I think that's 90% just because I don't advertise it.
Yeah, true.
That's fair.
So not very interesting answer for me.
Was it really prevalent? Like, did you say you did face cam streaming before?
Before I became a VTuber, I did very, very rare facecam streams. And funnily enough, like the closest thing I've gotten to hate was actually from like someone. Okay, I remember I did one hot pot stream as a facecam streamer,
Okay.
and there was just one incident where this guy came in and tried telling me that I was doing it all wrong, and I'm like, but I'm Chinese. What do you mean
That's
I'm doing
crazy.
hot pot wrong?
What do you? How does one do hot pot wrong?
Actually, this is how you actually do
You're
hot pot.
using, like, the
do you
wrong
prefer
chopsticks
your
or
wooden
something?
chopsticks or your metal
Hot
chopsticks?
He's like, you're using
I-
wooden chopsticks, not metal chopsticks.
Yeah, I
many
can't
stories.
believe you're using
Oh.
wooden chopsticks instead of metal ones. Don't you know that the wooden chopsticks are only for the poor?
No, the
I feel
wooden
like
Metal
that's
chopsticks
the
will
money
check
that
later.
poison.
No, I think it was something along the lines of like me not using the correct ingredients. And I was like, bitch,
What?
I know what ingredients to
Hot
use.
pot is
okay?
whatever ingredients you want. That's the point of hot pot.
Yeah, hot pot. You throw thing in hot pot.
Yeah.
And
Why-
it become hot.
Someone's
Dipping
literally never
sauce,
heard of
eat.
Budae game before.
There's really so few ways you could mess it up. It's either it's cold or there's no pot.
It's one of the infomercials like, aw, Brad, I forgot the pot. Aw, jeez.
Oh.
Use
of
a
those
skillet instead, call it
infomercials.
hot pan.
Hot man.
Oh.
That's crazy. Oh my god. I'm
This
imagining
is
maybe
so
this person was
funny.
just like, it's actually a mukbang, and you're like, what?
Oh. Yeah, no. Oh, I can't do this. This is ridiculous.
Hilarious. Oh my goodness.
Your guys' stories are taking a year off my life.
I'm so sorry.
We have to gain them back. I think this could kind of centralize. We're talking about how we're perceived. So, Asian American scholar Ronald Takaki is noted for coining the term racial uniform, the concept in that Americans or Canadians that do not look typically Caucasian fall into the trope of a perpetual foreigner and also are seen as a collective rather than individuals. Do you feel like you're seen more as Asian or foreign than as an American or Canadian?
You see, Atra? Inclusion.
Thank you for your
Uh,
inclusive efforts.
Yes.
I am very mixed. I'm only a quarter Korean and a quarter Italian and a quarter Native American. There's a lot
Oh,
of
wow.
people who come from the rest of
That's
it's
so
all
cool.
little itty bitty whatever's. There's like a 1%
That's still really
Japanese.
cool.
That I get a lot of shit for claiming I'm Korean. Because when you look at me, you can tell there's something going on there, but you don't know what it is.
That's so funny.
So there's there's bits and pieces, and there was like a thing going viral on Twitter where it was like, if you're only a quarter or something, you don't get to claim it. I was like, guess I'm no one. Guess I'm nothing.
No.
I guess I will dissipate into the ether.
I don't understand that. Like, why are
It's
we upset
weird.
about that when you got these like white folk
Right.
claiming to be Asian in their spirits? Like, what do you mean?
I think the pushback originated because, what was it? People claiming like Native American tribes when they're like 1/16.
Yeah, like blood quantum.
Stop. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a minority. I'm 0.2% native. It's the DNA testing, guys. It's those tests where they're like, I'm 5% black. I am now able to say slurs. And it's like, no, please no.
No.
No. Don't do that.
The thing with that,
but yeah,
though, is like, if you're willing to put in the work to like appreciate that culture, it doesn't matter like what percentage you are. Like, you can be like 1/8 Native American, but if you actually put in the work to like appreciate that part of your ancestry, then what's the problem?
And that's what I've heard too from a lot of Native friends that I have. They'll tell me that it's less about the percentage and more about like, are you actually connected to it? Because there's a lot of people who maybe are more than like 25%, but they like don't want to be that.
Right. And
Yeah.
for like your people were like, people have tried to eradicate your people throughout history, so don't help them eradicate your identity. Essentially.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I think the bigger thing too is like, one, we're not a monolith, and yes, there's like Asian or foreign, but we're such a melting pot of cultures now, and we've been like around in our respective countries in the diaspora for, centuries now, that there is no one way that we should look, but they do still expect that of us. We had a good question from Kojo that says, how does the panel feel about the term Asian American or Canadian?
It's accurate. It's what I am.
Yeah, like I'm like reading the rest of the question. I think it's definitely, it was probably like, I feel like it happened around the time when people were like, oh, well, you can't call people black people, you have to call them African American. And it's like, okay, well, okay, maybe that was inclusive, but then it's also like, are you just like, using it as a logical, technical term to like not like to like take away the person? Like, you know what I mean?
I can answer this one actually.
Go
So
ahead.
the term Asian American came about in the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement, and it was meant to show solidarity with African Americans that were organizing for civil rights. So Asian American activists in California, specifically Berkeley, coined the term Asian American to unify Japanese American, Chinese American, and Indian American activists and Filipino American activists under one umbrella to sort of show solidarity with the black struggle. Prior to that, everyone
That's a
was
pretty
Chinese
metal
or Indian.
history.
Yeah.
I love that.
Before then,
So it was a
Back when,
convenient
even
political
more.
minorities
sort
were
of like,
sticking together and
Yeah.
not just like being awful to each other.
Right.
Yes.
now
so
we want
it's
more
a political
checkboxes.
like alliance basically.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
That is sort
Let's
of like
chat, we're
running
all
its course
learning.
now, unfortunately. Because now there's so many of us that it kind of is an awkward sort of like thing. Because now there's enough Asian Americans that class, race, religion, and culture start to sort of like rub up against each other.
Ultimately, I do agree with how much more we're paying attention to and kind of seeing every different Asian culture for what it is. But I also want to add that I feel like Asian American as a term still has its place, right? Less so because I don't want it to be seen as us being like Asian American people being a monolith, but more so I feel like it's important to make a kind of distinction between Asian American and like Asian.
Born in
Yes.
Asia. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Because
Yes.
I feel like one with their what was that earlier conversation about cultural appropriation, I feel like that is a topic very, very specific to Asian Americans and not so much Asians, right? So I feel like the term still has a good place for emphasizing the difference in the experiences of Asian Americans compared to people born and raised in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree too. In the same term,
Oh.
why I call myself Filipino American, I identify as Filipino because I'm actually half Filipino, but I was raised by my Filipino side by my mom, so I don't know any identity outside of that. But I understand that I have a different lived experience out in the diaspora than what my mom came from. But I was like, it's hard to call myself Asian American, and it's also hard to call myself Pacific Islander, even though technically it's in the Pacific Islands. So as an identity, I feel like Filipino just happens to be looped in with that. And I don't know if Pocky feels the same, like being from Singapore and then kind of just being looped in to be ethnically Chinese. But you're Southeast Asian, but we don't say Southeast Asian American
Yeah,
or Canadian.
it's true. It's true. I find like I will usually just be like, oh yeah, like I feel like I think it's very much so that idea in like North America as a whole of like you want to be separate, but you also don't want to be separate, but you want to be unique enough so that people can tell you apart, but you also want to be recognized. Like I imagine like like the amount of times people must be like, oh well, you're not Asian, you're Indian, or you're brown, or whatever, right? Like
They
you know what I
don't. I was
mean?
like, India's the biggest country in Asia, one of the
Which
biggest
is
countries.
crazy to me, right? Like I've gotten that before where like I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm Asian, and if I tell them like, oh yeah, my dad and like my grandparents were born in Singapore and Indonesia, they'll be like, oh well, you're not like actually Asian then, and I'm like, okay, well I am because it's in Asia. But I remember even just growing up and like telling people like, oh, these are where my parents come from, and even like my teachers were like, isn't that just like Malaysia? And I'm like, no, it's its own place, but thanks.
Yeah, my
That's
parents were born in
cool.
South America, but I am Asian.
You're Guyanese, right?
That's right. But I'm ethnically Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And just to answer the question in chat from Kojo, how do South Asians feel about the term? A lot of South Asians use the term Desi or, Indian American or whatever it is. I like using Asian American because I'm not technically South Asian. I am from South America. And there's a lot of Indians around the world, in South Africa, in Malaysia, in South America, in the islands, in Mauritius, in everywhere, that would just qualify as that and not typically Indian. So I think it's a really good term that really covers the experience of everybody. Ditto for Chinese people around the world.
I feel like that also just like plays into why like there's that stereotype in North America that like, oh well, all the Asians look the same, and it's like, okay, well, in my opinion, don't kill me. I'm gonna get canceled. When I was growing up,
Oh no.
I still can't tell a lot of like white actors apart, and I'm like,
No,
is it really just like us?
Real
like,
talk. Is it Bill Murray and what's the other guy that's in? Oh, another white actor. Can't tell them apart.
Yeah,
they
no,
look the same to me.
literally me. But like in my opinion, it's like and from what I've learned when I studied in psych, it's very much so like it depends on like who are you surrounded by, right? Like if you're surrounded by a lot of different types of people, you're gonna see a lot more differences. But if you're only ever surrounded by white people, like you might be really good at telling them apart, and like then it's like, oh my goodness, all these Asians look the same.
No, yeah.
But like I'm also like
100%
it's also like historical. Like everybody, I've had somebody tell me that like all Chinese people just look like Japanese people, and I'm like, well,
Nope.
if you want to talk about, why that might be and why we might share some blood, like I mean, we could do that, but like
historical trauma,
right? Like we could talk about like why, I don't know, British folk and I don't know, other people in Europe or whatever look semi-similar. Like it's probably for similar reasons. Like, people traveled around the world and did things.
Telling a Chinese person that all Chinese people look like Japanese people is like telling a British person that all British people look like French people.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
I figured it out. It was Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks and Bill Murray are the two.
Okay, thank you,
I can't
because
tell
you
apart.
said Bill Murray and I thought Tom Hanks, but I couldn't remember his name.
For the longest time, I couldn't tell Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon apart.
That's fair. That is also fair.
Valid.
I'm hearing names that are supposed to mean
Yeah,
something,
they're just
and I'm drawing
just
a blank.
They're
at
just
this point.
they're just other white people.
The guy who screams Wilson out of volleyball that goes into the ocean, that's one of them. And then, what is... Which one was that? Which one was that? Uh-oh. Hold on.
The thing is
Google,
the only thing
Google
I think
help.
I know the name Tom Hanks from is Toy Story. And he's not even like
Tom
physically in that. You know what I
Is
mean?
he in Toy Story?
Yeah, he's Woody.
Oh,
Oh,
Is he not? Oh, he is Woody. Okay. I'm not crazy.
well,
For a
talking
second,
about
because you questioned it, I was like, "Fuck, was it actually Bill Murray?"
What is going on?
I would
Why don't-
Bill Murray's in Ghostbusters.
Go for it.
I was saying,
about
talking
it.
about popular culture, just because we're on the subject, has there been any particular representation, like Asian American representation that you resonated with in your youth or even today, that you find has resonated with you over time?
Specifically,
I can go
Turning
first.
Red.
No, Turning Red, yeah.
Turning Red. Oh my
Oh,
god.
heard that, yeah.
that's a good
Red.
one.
Like very specifically though, because it is very like she is Chinese, like Canadian in Toronto, which is like near where I am. I was like, yes, and I remember like the weird relationship between the mom and daughter, which I feel like is a very like common thing in Asian families, is like
Mhm.
your relationship with your parents isn't like how I think a lot of North American families would be. But then when people tell you could just cut them off, you're like, no,
Right.
I don't know what you
no.
mean. But like I remember watching that movie and like bawling my eyes out in front of my mom, and she was like, she's so disrespectful, and I'm like, I feel like you're missing the whole point of this movie.
Mhm. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once, watching it with
Yes.
your
Oh
mom.
my goodness. I saw parts of it and I know that I'm just going to cry if I watch it, so I actively have not yet. But I've heard so many good things.
I would say to that point, just because you mentioned, and I know like Turning Red, I know there was a question about Asian culture being inherently patriarchal. Do any of you believe that that's congruent with your upbringing, or have you found yourself adjusting your mindset to overcome that?
I think that's an interesting point because I feel like every culture is inherently patriarchal.
I feel
Like,
like the majority
historically,
of
have
modern
we not?
cultures.
Right?
I would
like
say in my experience though, like my mom, I guess, was such a strong, and my aunties, my titas and stuff were such a strong representation in how I viewed myself, and the Philippines culture is inherently matriarchal, that just happened to become
that's true.
patriarchal with colonization.
Mhm.
But in your personal dynamics, like in your family, do you, like how you said with your mom reacting in that way, was that because she was like a matriarch, or were you still in a patriarchal environment like in your household?
So my family, weirdly enough, is I feel like very Turning Red. Like I think in Turning Red you see that like the mom is the one kind of doing a lot of stuff with the daughter, and the dad's kind of just there. Like I'm not saying he wasn't important, because like it's not exactly how my family is, but like I grew up with my mom being a stay-at-home mom and my dad worked full-time. So like he made financial decisions and he made all of these decisions, but like I saw my mom more and like I fight with my mom more. But like at the end of the day, when my dad like gets really angry, everybody just kind of shuts up because it's like, ooh, okay, dad's mad. Like, so like yes and no, I feel like.
Yeah, sort of the basis of this question is because the sort of like trope, like the sort of like where Asian American thought is kind of stuck, is that, oh, traditionally it's very patriarchal and women are trapped in so on and so forth. That's not where I see it now, though. I think that girls can go to college. In fact, they go to college at a much higher level than men. Both mom and dad are working for the most part these days. And there is more equality of opportunity. So I was more sort of like asking this to see, like, do you think this is maybe an outdated way of thinking? Like, do we think that maybe in the year 2025 that the state of like the Asian American family might be changing a little bit?
That's I have an interesting story.
Yeah, go for it.
Or less so a story, more like how I grew up. It was a matriarchal household because my parents were divorced.
That's another thing
So,
too. Divorce rates are
that's
much
very
higher
valid.
too. Yeah.
Nowadays, yeah.
And I feel like for the most part, my mom really drilled into my head the idea of you want to be a strong, independent woman. You don't want to rely on a man for your financial security. You want to. She actually very much was insistent on the fact that if I were to date or marry, I should only look for men in my earning bracket or higher, because she doesn't want what happened to her to happen to me. Or basically she married again, and her second husband like took a lot of money from her. So she's really scared of me getting burned by that kind
That's
of
fair.
patriarchal society idea.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she wants me. It's funny how much she rejects the patriarchal ideals of like Asian culture, but at the same time embraces it because she keeps on insisting, oh, you need to find a strong man that will help you and support you and protect you. And it's like, okay, so you want me to be strong and independent but also rely on a strong man?
Oh my god.
And it's interesting seeing those two like ideas of her clash, and I don't even think she realizes that they're clash.
I guess they're not.
You know?
They're not exactly opposite ideas at the same time. Like you can
Yeah.
want like a strong partner, but also be an independent person, I suppose.
Yeah.
Basically, don't marry no bitch. Basically.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get your bag, girl.
Assuming the best of your mom, right? It could just be she's like, don't get a weak link, right? Because you're a
Yes.
strong, independent, bad bitch. Don't
And you know
go
what?
get
She's
some.
so valid
Exactly.
for that.
Don't-
In
don't
this
go get, like,
dating sphere,
Right.
don't date a weak bitch.
Exactly.
None of those pick me boys being like, I'm so ugly.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I
No,
definitely
thank
do
you.
agree with her about like not to the extent that she does, but I understand where she's coming from, where she's like, you know, you need to make sure that someone can support you and you don't have to support them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's fair.
I think I think I'm gonna have a different take on this one.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I grew
Tell
up in the Korean side of my family is very traditional Korean. They were incredibly disappointed when I was born a woman.
Oh.
Like I was originally supposed to be like Xandria is my real name. I was supposed to be named Alexander.
Oh.
You're
and then I
now
became
reminding me of
Alexandria.
all the patriarchal parts of my family.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, no,
so-
you are correct.
Yeah, I think rather you guys are looking for like the bigger picture. I'm thinking of the little things that kind of came up in life where I was like, this makes me feel small. Something really, really niche, right? The way that we eat when we have like the big family gatherings, the men eat first,
Yes.
right?
Really?
And then it goes in order. So men, oldest to youngest. Obviously, babies eat first. So if
Yeah.
there's a newborn and any toddlers. But men, oldest to youngest. Women, oldest to youngest. So I always ate last. And if a man finished his food before I got in line, because we have a big family, right? If he finished his food and wanted seconds, I then had to wait. So
Wow.
it's little things like that come to mind when I think of the patriarchy, where it's like serve the man first.
No, that's
And it's like,
fair.
Mom, I haven't eaten all day, please. Please, sir, may I have one bowl?
No, that's fair.
That's fair.
You
yeah.
saying that is making me remember. So I have my family is me, my dad, my mom, and my two sisters. So we are 3 girls, and I remember my parents telling us that when my younger sister was born and was a girl, they called my ama and told her, they were like, oh yeah, it's a girl, and she was like, no, it's not, and she hung up.
Oh.
And she was so upset, and she was like, no, I don't think so. Wrong.
Wrong.
She just
Try
rejects
again.
reality hard enough. It'll
Yeah.
change.
Yep. Or like even like you were talking about eating. Like I'm remembering like my mom, like again, we 3 girls, right? And we're all 4 years apart. So when my older sister was 8, I was 4, and my little sister was baby, right? So my mom's trying to hold baby, but also juggle 2 kids underneath 10. And at some point, I remember her trying to hand my dad my little sister so that she could eat. And my mom was like, "Oh no. He has to eat. You can't, like, you have to hold the baby."
Mhm.
And it's like my mom hadn't eaten, and I was like, "I don't know what you want. Like, dad has arms. Does he not?" So like, I think you are correct. I think like broader picture, I think we're moving, but I think like I do think our parents' generation is still
The dynamic is still a little
like I don't know about your guys' family. I guess that's a different question, but like my parents were born in Singapore and Indonesia and then moved here. So I don't know I can't remember if that makes me first generation or second generation, but I think because they were born there.
Firstborn here, so you're first generation here.
First gen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So because we're first gen, I think because they were born in that and we're surrounded by that, you can still see it, even though my parents are very like, we are Canadian, we're not Asian. And I'm like, what do you mean?
I mean,
I don't know
in
if
my
your
family's
parents do
case,
it.
like, I think they started that way, but they got married and came to America very quickly. And almost immediately, my dad was like, told my mom, like, you have to work also, because they were living in a basement.
Fair
and
enough.
They were very poor, and the dynamic immediately just became equal, almost immediately. They had to.
That's fair.
Yeah. He is, of course, a small and emasculated little man who is abusive and a moron, but...
Bitch. Testicular torsion. Right now.
But
now.
in their
Cast it.
interactions, they are equal, so...
Mods, twist his balls.
Yeah.
Mods
I don't know
emasculate
if your
them.
parents are like this. Like, again, if your parents were born in America, but like my parents are like very against like Asians coming to Canada. Or like they're like, "Oh my god, these immigrants," and I'm like, "You are an immigrant."
Oh yeah, my dad is very anti.
My mom is the same way.
I hear you. I do hear you. Yeah.
Because I know some people also deal with that, and I'm like, "What are you talking?" My dad like was like driving in Toronto, and he's like, "Oh, these fucking Chinese people can't drive," and I'm like, "You have gotten 3 speeding tickets in the last like year. What do you mean? You are an immigrant who cannot drive."
Yep. Yeah.
There was a question up above that I wanted to get to, but I think it was from Cool Awesome Guy, and it's about the media actually. And I'm paraphrasing it because I didn't want to go all the way up there, but essentially it's why do you think that people have the tendency to group and judge Asians by what they see in the media and media depictions?
They've never seen a real Asian person.
Tiny monkey brain.
We're not real. We don't exist.
Yeah, tiny monkey brain has difficulty with object permanence. Tiny monkey brain see on screen. Monkey brain go, that's real.
I do actually wonder how much of that is because people have genuinely never seen Asians.
Oh, there's a lot, actually. There's a lot of places, even in the US, where it's only, like, even if you get into smaller neighborhoods that people never really escape from, right? We get a lot of only Hispanic, only white, only black, only Asian, and they don't interact. They don't interact. They just, they only experience their very small world. So they base everything off of the news. They see what's on the news and they're like, that's how those people are. And it's like, whoa.
Them groupings be bad.
So
or the caricature of them in media.
Oh my god, caricatures.
It's unknown ignorance, I think. Like, it could be developed, right, if with a little bit of research, but they don't have the want to learn more. They're like, all right, that's good enough. And they just take it as it is. Which is really sad, but that's true a lot of places for a lot of individuals. Like, these people read something on Twitter, go, that's the truth. That's it.
I once saw a K-drama. I now
Oh.
know all mothers-in-laws will throw a cup of water at you.
Yeah, right. And they will.
I was gonna say I have had. I know my friend has actively been in that situation, and I was like, "Oh my god, tell me more!" As I pop my popcorn. Keep going.
Right. Oh, give me the tea.
So when you see a piece of media that is like portrays Asians in like a specifically Asian women in a particularly stereotypical way, do you feel a certain way about it, or do you kind of just brush it off and like, well, I'm not like that, so what do I even care, basically?
Sorry.
I'm trying
Can
to.
you
I'm
re-
trying to
my
think
brain
of, like,
died
media.
mid-question.
No,
Can you
no
do it again?
worries. So like
I
when
can
you
think
see,
of like Fresh Off the Boat, maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, the mom in Fresh
Yeah,
Off
and
the
how
Boat.
she's very very stereotypical. I even the fact that they called it Fresh Off the Boat, I think was kind of an interesting title. I'm trying to think of more media. Like, I guess like Crazy Rich Asians was the one that, like, when that came out, all of a sudden everybody knew where my dad was from. All of a sudden everybody thought that my dad was secretly this dude who had so much money, and I'm like, no, that is not, like, that's not how
No.
Singapore was a long time. Like, when my parents were there, it was very different, right? And even now, like, it's not really like that. Like, I don't know. I guess I'll look at it, I judge silently, and then I kind of just like go about my day.
Keep trucking.
oh,
I
Bling,
think,
yeah, Bling Empire is a good example. Thank you, Scoot.
Oh,
actually.
Bling Empire.
Oh yes,
Oh
Bling
god.
Empire.
Have you guys heard of Bling Empire?
No.
I secretly love
I've not.
it.
Okay, I enjoy it just because I love tea. Like, it's like how I love like Love Island, and I'm like, yeah, you are a fucking idiot, random person. I don't
Yes,
know.
Love Island.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
In
the
my
drama.
head, it's kind of like that, like where it's like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, so that's
probably-
that's kind of what
Go
I'm
ahead.
getting at. Like, do you kind of feel a kinship when people like act stupid, like in pieces of media, or are depicted in this? Like, do you feel like they're like doing bad for the team, or do you feel separation from like those people you see who are fucking up, basically?
I need an example.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
so
as like
confused.
representing our culture on the big screen kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have
see.
I have a very niche, and I'm probably dating myself.
Sure.
If anybody watched
Oh,
Degrassi,
Yeah.
I thought you were
I
gonna
know
say
of
tequila. I'm
clips.
sorry.
I know it's a Canadian one, but for me, Manny Santos was the first Filipino representation that I got. And at first, I wanted to hate her. Like, everyone wanted to hate her. And if you're not familiar, she was kind of like the harlot, like portrayed to be like the harlot of the series and stuff like that. And there's a lot of drama around her. But then I realized that her lived experience, despite being Canadian, was very similar to my own lived experience. And then I was like, oh, I can't really hate on her. But I was like, I had that portrayal because I had two representations of being Filipino growing up in that era. One of them was actually Miranda from Lizzie McGuire. Even though she played a Mexican, she's Lelaine Vergara is actually Filipino, and she did the little Disney, like when they take the little tube thing and make the light, and she talked about that. And then she's like, my favorite food is the one adobo my mom makes, and I was like, oh, I love adobo too. And then I realized that she was playing a Mexican on TV instead of being Filipino. And I don't know, for her I was like, you get a pass. I just hate that you're not being Filipino on television, and that's Hollywood's fault, or that's the casting's fault.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
like these unlimited roles.
what is
too,
that
Like,
about, like, kids shows with Filipinos playing Latinos? Because Vanessa Hudgens is also Filipino. And
yes,
played a
that's a little
Latino
after my
girl.
time too.
No, but I just think it's
Told
funny.
you I'm
that it's
dating
like,
myself.
I just
For
think it's
each
funny that it's
role,
happened.
I feel like there's a specific look that the directors are going for, and it doesn't matter what your background is as long as you fill that look. So I, especially back before there was as much social media as we have now, and we're pushing all these like hey, cast people who actually are those things and lived those things. But especially back then, it was like, oh, cool, we found a girl that looks like it. Send her.
Put her in, coach.
And also to give respect to the actors and actresses. You take a role that you think you can fill, and you're like, all right, and we send it, because that's my money. That's how I get my paycheck.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, hold on. Let me find a different way to say this. Avoid controversy.
Oh no.
Oh no.
There's just
Google
so
Docs are
limited
starting.
roles
Oh, it's
for
true. Yes. Very true.
just
for people of color.
people of color in general. So it's, you take what you can get. And it, hopefully they did the
not a
proper
lot.
research so that like they can portray the character properly, but get that money.
You get that bag.
And I think for Filipinos, I'm like me. I'm the spoken Filipino of the channel right now. But we're finally like getting to see like nurses that are being portrayed as Filipino in media now,
Right.
and that was not always the case. I think I like Grey's Anatomy was very popular for not showcasing Filipino nurses, even though they make like 30% of the healthcare workforce in America.
It's crazy.
They were like,
there
we
was
don't
not a
see
single.
anything. What was that?
Yeah.
I mean, as
They were
writing
like, but you
rooms-
have an Asian. There's already one.
I mean, you do see it
You get your one
creeping
token Asian.
into kids shows, for example. Like kids shows are actually very good at like starting to portray like Korean people, Vietnamese people, Filipino people, and such. So you do see it sort of creep in at lower levels, especially in animation. And I think that is just a testament to how writing rooms are changing across the board in media. But it is a very slow process, unfortunately.
We're not there, right, with the patriarchy.
Yeah.
For a lot of my life, I grew up where nobody knew what Korean was. And people now will give me a lot of shit because they're like, everybody knows Koreans. When they talk about Asian, you know, like K-pop and everything else, that's one of the first things they talk about. Yeah,
K-dramas.
but for half of my life, K-pop was not well known nationally, aside from maybe Big Bang and Psy, eventually Gangnam Style when I was too old by that point.
Right.
Like, we did this thing in school, and it still sticks with me because it gets at the thing that I was talking about earlier, where it's like, you're only a quarter of everything. You don't get to... we had to put pins with a little, like, picture of ourselves on where our families came from. Like, on the map, we had this big old map on the wall, and you get to put a little pin of yourself. And I was like, well, this is rough, because...
I guess I'll just do a whole bunch of them.
I was like, well...
Did you only get one pin, or could you put up several?
Well, and that was the problem, was I was like, hey, because my mom, very Korean, my dad, very Italian. So I was like, it's kind of disrespectful to only put one and not the other. And so I was like, hey, can I get like another pin? She was like, no. I was like,
You gotta pick one.
That's crazy.
Pick your
But
yeah,
favorite.
she was like,
what?
yeah, she was like, well, which one are you more? And I was like, they're even. She was like, they can't be even. I was like, what does that mean? Do you know math? Like, they're even.
Said there's no such
So-
thing as 50-50. You lie.
Yeah. But I remember I put my class very mixed. We had Cambodian, Filipino, like the Asian population very mixed. Hmong, Thai, Viet. So they all put their pins up, and then me over in this little itty bitty dot, South Korea.
Oh.
And I remember a kid looked at me, he's like, what even is that? I was like, well, it's Korea. And he's like,
It's a
what do they
place.
have there? Well, Koreans.
Koreans. Yeah.
But yeah, there was a really long time where nobody knew what Korea even was, right? So like, I remember you guys were talking about it earlier, where you were like, I'm not Chinese. That's not me.
Yeah.
They
That actually
just
sort of
constantly group it.
dovetails really nicely into this question, actually, about adoption.
Oh.
So, as many as folks may or may not know, Korea, after the Korean War, was devastated and deeply in poverty for several decades, which led to the practice of adoption, which we are now learning was very exploitive and ended up with many women having their children taken from them, essentially, not agreeing to do so. But here's the question. Several Asian Americans I've known personally were brought in from their home countries, especially China and Korea, and adopted by white, well-to-do households. What are your thoughts on this practice, especially in regard to potential impacts to your cultural identities? So how do we feel about couples that want a Chinese baby, specifically, or a Korean baby?
I grew up in a very white school, and in said school were very much so those people being like, I'm doing my part. And I grew up in a very white Christian school, private Christian space, where they were like, God is calling me to adopt this tiny little Chinese baby because, you know, these poor babies back there, like, they don't want women and they're so against women and all this and that, and we have to save them. And I remember being like, there are babies here. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like if you I think it's very much so that term of like white savior complex, where it's like, what was the reason? I don't think, I guess in my head it's less about the impact on the culture and more just like, why? Like, what was the reason for it?
I'm gonna say it's a lukewarm take here, but if they are people who normally would not have adopted a child, if they had not had that savior complex, then I'm glad they had the savior complex. If the child is well fed and gets to go to school and, you know, like, they have the basic necessities met when they wouldn't have, then all right. Okay. Like, as long as there are children taken in that wouldn't have been, then who am I to complain? You know?
I guess I understand that. I guess it's just in my head, it's like, it's that understanding that you have to save these Asian kids when there are Canadian American kids who are in the foster system. Like, Canada, I think I remember like my prof talking about how like Canada has one of the worst foster systems, and the UN has actively been like, hey, you should fix that. And they're like, I can't hear you. And they just, like, I don't know, like, it's bad. And I'm like, if you want to have a savior complex and and I'm not saying all like families who adopt are that way. Like, obviously, like, you know, there's a lot of people who actively want to help these kids, and that's great. But if you're, I want to save a kid, I want to save a kid from China, from these ethnic places, so that you can have a cute little token accessory to go along with your handbag. Like, as much as I agree, like, yeah, okay, maybe those, like, the kids, you know, obviously that's a good thing. They get to grow up and have things provided for them. But it's also just like, I guess I'm grateful for them, but I'm not going to applaud them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to praise you for...
when they start showing up the hospitals where single moms are and being like, okay, can you provide for this child?
Let us take them.
Let's take them, basically.
Yeah.
That's when you have a problem, basically. That's what was happening in Korea at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To that point, Atra, and sorry, I didn't see that question to preface it, but I remember very distinctly there is a individual, her name is Jane Jong Trenka. She was a South Korean adoptee. She was adopted into a white, you know, blue collar, whatever collar, Minnesotan family, and she is a prominent critic against her own transracial and interracial adoption because of her personal experiences, because she saw herself as white, you know, because of the environment that she was put in, and then she experienced, you know, being called the G word. I don't know if like it's proper to say it, but it's the GOOK word back then.
Yeah.
And she discussed that at length, and she started an organization called TRACK, which is about supporting us, particularly South Korean adoptees, to find, you know, their lineage, go back, be able to support their their identities and go over like their well-being and their mental and emotional well-being that comes with being transracially adopted, not just in Caucasian families, but predominantly Caucasian families. So like if they're saying it, and I can say that you lose a lot of sense of who you are, because then you look a certain way and then you act a different way, and then you realize very harshly that you are not a part of that community because of the way you look, because you can sound as white as you want, but at the end of the day, you don't look white.
There's also been an issue with those families did not do proper paperwork. So those kids, they at the age of 20 something might commit a crime and end up getting deported to Korea at the age of 20 something, believe it or not.
Right.
And there's been many such cases, actually. It's very controversial. Although I didn't think of it that way, Zandria, and I actually thank you for like changing my perspective a bit on that, actually.
Yeah, I have the same opinion. So that's why it came to me real quick when we heard this. Oh god, what is the big guy with a lot of money on YouTube?
Huh?
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast.
Oh.
He went and cured a bunch of blindness, and a lot of people were complaining because they were like, it's a publicity stunt. Okay, but also all these people just had their blindness cured.
Not blind
so
anymore.
like, no matter what his reason was, good things still happened, right? And so also a lot of people are innately not the greatest. So if they're at least gonna do things that benefit others, then I think that's a win. If you have the financial stability to support a child and
but like only if that kid was an orphan in the first place. If you're taking it from their parents, which like so many countries have realized at this point, like Russia realized this, China has realized this, Korea has realized this. More and more countries are realizing like it's become a industry almost of selling kids abroad, essentially, to Western families.
Does anyone not think that it would be an obligation for them to at least try to retain some of their heritage? Like if they were Chinese adoptee, to have them try to connect with their local Chinese community, or send them to like, a Chinese culture or Chinese language school just to remain connected, say that they were, adopted into an all-white family.
Do you mean like for the parents, like it should be an obligation for them to kind of know? Like
so that the child doesn't go through that ostracization and
I mean, like
and having the cultural awareness.
Yeah, like I can't even be like, oh well, like you should go teach them about like Mandarin, because like I grew up, my parents were very like, we need to assimilate to Canada. So my parents didn't teach us Hokkien. So I don't speak any other language besides English, and I get a lot of side eyes because Asians typically don't actually talk shit to your face. At least in my experience. I get a lot of side eyes when people find out that I don't speak Mandarin, when I don't speak Hokkien, and they're like, well, why didn't your parents teach you? And it's like, because there was this overwhelming pressure for us to assimilate, for us to be less Asian, right? And so like on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I think the obligation should be, be aware that your child is not going to be like you.
Yeah,
right, like
it's race
like
blind to your kid, basically.
Right, yeah, like I feel like it's even
colorblind.
more. Yeah, like it's even more like it should be, in my opinion. Like, or maybe not should be, but it's similar to how I think that like if you were going to adopt a baby, let's say your white savior complex is calling you to go adopt a baby from Africa.
They saw the bat signal.
Right? Yeah, like and they're like, oh, I want this tiny little African baby. Like I feel like it should be an obligation then to know, hey, your kid's gonna have very different hair than you, and you need to know that you can't just shave it off whenever you don't want to. Like if you don't know how to,
you have to learn to take care of it,
right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's similar
a black
to that,
child in
right?
America, and what that comes with, basically.
Right? Yeah, like and like I feel like that's it. It's similar. We can't say it's like the same, because obviously like we have the whole like model minority bullshit going on, like where like, oh well, like it's not as prevalent, but especially when COVID was happening, like I feel like we saw the way that like North America very quickly turns on East Asian
You can be
looking folk,
othered.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The racial uniform got turned on real quick.
But yeah,
Then it
I
didn't
do think
matter
like
at all.
yeah, like I agree that like yeah, if you're doing a good thing, that's good, cool. Like I'm happy that that kid is being fed and everything. But I also think that like when I'm thinking about like these folks who are adopting these kids specifically because they want a kid from China, it just feels very token like. Like it feels like when I, you know, had friends who just like really liked having a gay girl around, really liked having an Asian girl around, you know, and it's like I'm not a person to them. It's not, oh, I'm
Filling a
taking care of a
quota.
baby. It's, oh, but we can't be racist because look, we have an Asian baby.
I think
you
you're hitting
know?
on something that's
Commodification.
really important because what was sold to people at the time was like, oh, they're killing the Chinese baby girls, basically.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was what
And
was
then, like,
sold
again,
to people.
I'm not saying like those specific people. I'm talking about like right now, like when people are like, oh, you know, let's go adopt this child from China or something. And like, again, if I agree, if the baby is being fed, if they're getting taken care of, yes. If Mr. Beast is curing blindness, cool, that's great. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's the most wonderful human being for
Right.
doing this. Because at the end of the day, you're doing it for a specific reason. Mr. Beast is doing it for views. Like you're doing it for the funding. You're doing it for
It's
whatever.
tax write-offs.
Yeah,
Well,
like
can
and
I
it's yeah.
play like devil's advocate here?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever anybody does anything nice, don't they kind of have a reason for doing it anyway?
I mean, like in a
Right?
sense,
Like
but
you
like
self-gratification or whatever. Say like
yeah, okay,
you
fair. But
donate
if
to a
you're
homeless man. Right, because I 100% see what you're saying, but I think I'm closer to standing in the middle where it's like, no, you know what, you did do something good. It's a little fucky that you know, publicized it and but he got money from it, and now he can go do more big things, right? People donate to him. They're like, hey, you did big good thing, I donate to you.
It's
I
like
feel
when
like
people boast
whenever
about like
somebody does,
rescuing a dog, for example.
Right.
Look at my rescue like corgi, for example. It's like, well, that's a purebred dog. Like,
Right.
it's not really like you could have like rescued like a mutt or something like that, but you've rescued a quote unquote like purebred dog. Do you want me to like tell you're a good person because you did that? I mean, I guess you could have went to a breeder, so I guess you did a good thing, but still, you know, I don't know.
I guess like I don't know. The way that I see like good acts on like YouTube or Twitch or whatever is like, yes, are you doing a good thing? That's great. Yeah, like are you giving a homeless man money? That's great. Like all these TikToks of people, you know, taking care of homeless folk. Yeah, you're doing a good thing. But you also felt the need to record it. Or like in the case of like the adoption where it's like again, I'm not talking about every parent. Like obviously there are parents out there who do these nice things and just do them. But I know so many families who do it and then document it and like post it on their Facebook and be like, oh, like, you know, I know God is like smiling down on us for doing this. And it's like, oh, like, and it's very much so that essence of like, oh, like, look at me, I am their savior. Like very, like the way that I think about it is like very much so the way that like fucking random people came to Canada and America and they were like, oh, let's save the natives. And it's like, well, I feel like you weren't. I feel like maybe you think you might have done some good stuff and maybe you have. Like, again, obviously very different situations and like, is there good things happening? Yeah. But I also think like, I'm not gonna like applaud you for
I think what it comes down to is that there is no condemnation of individual adoptions, but the adoptions industry as a whole needs to have a reckoning. Because the facilitation, the large-scale facilitation of Asian adoptions was full of many, many issues. The individual adoption of Asian babies, however, might have been a good thing for some of these kids. But the industry itself was riddled with issues, and I think that's kind of where I stand on this.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That almost, I'm sorry, this just came to mind though, is just because I work in healthcare. It's like people go abroad to help with cleft lips and do like pro bono work
Mhm.
for certain organizations, or they do certain procedures, but then they do also leave them to fend for themselves afterwards.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
don't give them the tools to succeed in that environment after doing these things. So for me, I think centering too, like giving them tools to succeed in the environment that you put them in, you know, even it was in good intentions, and then making sure that you set them up for success so they don't encounter the roughness that can be, especially in America. I don't know, being Asian, being anything other than predominantly Caucasian America is rough right now.
Yeah. That reminds
I
me
don't
of
know
all
about
those. I
Canada.
don't know if you guys remember those like really old like HGTV shows where they would be like, we're helping this family redo their whole house, and they give them this
Right,
like
yeah.
massive house, and then you find out that like, oh, that family went bankrupt
Oh.
because they can't pay the taxes on this new
The
fucking
home's
home.
owner's
Yes.
insurance or something.
Yeah, like good things, yeah, great. And in a moment, that probably made a big difference. But I also think like you have to think long term for some things, I guess.
Absolutely.
I think that does apply to the adoptions as well, because
Mhm.
hey, listen, I do agree with both of like the stances. While it will cause me to side-eye people that want to adopt from a specific, maybe impoverished country, I'm not gonna question it if they give the child a good life. But I
Mhm.
sincerely hope that they're prepared or they're equipped and realize this child could be different. This child could have different needs and might need or want to be connected to their culture they originally came from. And ultimately, I think if everyone were good and great parents, I would be completely fine with the white savior complex. But the
Mhm.
unfortunate truth is not everyone is good or great.
Mhm.
True. Let's move on. I have another question I wanted to ask. By the way, chat, this podcast is about 2 to 2.5 hours long, so we're getting close to the end. So if you have any questions for our panel, make sure to get them into chat or use Marshmallow above. Thank you again to the question asker for this question. It was very thought-provoking, actually. I learned a bit as well. So,
Speaking of,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I saw a question in chat earlier. I actually didn't want to. I actually found interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
I forgot who asked it, but it was someone that was like asking for input on what was it, like Asian families' advice about marrying well, and if they had any like people that they wanted you to marry or not.
Oh, I missed that completely.
Oh yeah.
That's a wonderful question. As a married woman, I can give input on this.
Hell yeah.
So I should probably mention I am pan. I usually say I'm bi just to make it easy for people, but right. So I I did come out to my mom. That was a big no-no.
Ooh, me too,
A
bestie.
big,
I could
a
not.
big, yeah, it I can tell you the rest of the family doesn't know. It stops at my mom and her husband. But
As it often does, yeah.
it also there's oh my god, there's so much to this story. So I woman was a big no, right? And I was like, okay, so what else is there, right? There's men. I at the time, the person I liked happened to be a black girl, right? And she was my best friend for a very long time. And so rather than saying that the person I liked at the time was a girl, I was like, hey, mom, so say hypothetically I liked somebody. How would you feel about that? And she was like, well, tell me about him. And I was like, okay, well, you've met them, right? And she was like, okay, so what nationality are they? And I was like, uh-oh. And I was like, well, they're black. And she was like, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And I was like, okay, well, what if I liked somebody who was Asian? Are we okay with that? And she was like, no. I was like, no.
What?
I was like, Hispanic? She was like, no. God, no. I was like, what's left? What's left, mom? And she was like, white. I was like, white. And So this is a big thing for specifically Asian American culture, for very traditional parents, grandparents, especially the women. They find success in white men. They see white men and think that's a successful man, that's a businessman, right? Stereotypically. So my grandma was very big on me marrying a white male. I will say I accidentally fell into that stereotype because he was a great man. And I used to be Baba Black Sheep because I was a woman and I was mixed and I have freckles and I don't look like the rest of them, right? They weren't a big fan of me. But then I came home with this guy and they were like, oh, you win the lottery, you win. And they were incredibly happy that I came home with a white man, which, you know,
Complicated
it is what it is. Yeah, it's like I would have loved him no matter what his skin color was, what his background was, what, like, it wasn't, I looked at him and went, white man, give, right? He could have been a woman, he could have been trans, he could have been whatever he wanted, and I still would have loved the soul, the essence of that guy, right? So it's really, I think, frustrating, no matter how much nuclear chemist, right? Like, I should have gotten appreciation for all the other hard work I did, not just because I brought home a man that made them happy. So it does make me a little salty, I think. But I'm glad they like him, because then it makes family dinner a lot less awkward.
Oh, I'm sure. That's
Yeah.
so funny. This was literally going to be the question I was going to ask.
About dating white men.
Kind of, yes.
Ah.
It was going to be put more elegantly, though.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
What was your question?
All right, well, I'll ask it anyway. So a common refrain in Asian men's online spaces is a sort of resentment at Asian women for marrying outside of the race. How do you, as a panel, feel about this sort of very much online discourse among Asian men? And what is your sort of feelings on the phenomenon?
Very long story short, I got shit on for this. A lot.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah. Like in little phrases where they're like, I bet he can't even handle spice, or, oh, you know, you should try someone like me instead. Like, just because you said that, no. But yeah.
I see the phrase Asian manosphere in chat. Yes, exactly, Kojo.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. There's definitely a lot of. Oh,
I feel
I'm glad. I'm excited to hear you guys' stories.
I feel like a lot of, and like obviously I'll make the disclaimer, not all Asian men. I feel like a lot of Asian American men, Asian Canadian men, don't realize that your relationship should, you know, and it's you know, obviously not just Asian men, but because we're talking about Asian men as a whole, but a lot of guys I think don't realize that your relationship with your mother is a very big blockage to having a relationship with an Asian American Canadian girl, because the number of dudes that I have met whose like mom like expects you to wait on them hand and foot, expects you to do all these things, like she wants you to be the traditional Chinese wife, but she also wants you to go work, because how do you expect him to do everything? Like, you know, this is her little prince or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I think, I don't know. I also just think that like it's not like if you were better at being nice, maybe you would. I don't know. This like reminds me of the whole like male loneliness epidemic. I'm like, maybe self-reflection.
This is a perspective I haven't heard before. Like, maybe they should stand up to mom more basically. Like,
Actually,
this
have you heard
deference-
about like the
Yeah.
phenomenon of boy moms?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard of boy
Okay.
moms. Yes.
So I have actively said this before, and like again, disclaimer, not all of them, but
Yeah.
there when I was like doing more dating apps, I would be very cautious of Asian men and Italian men because the boy moms that came from those two would just like
Italian
hurt
boy
my
moms?
soul. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a thing. That's definitely.
Oh
a
my
thing.
goodness. My
Yes.
friend is she's
And
a
Jewish
white girl
moms.
who
Jewish
is
moms.
oh I wouldn't know, but my friend is a white girl who's dating an Italian boy.
I'm from
He
New
is
York, so
the
of those three.
he is one of two kids. He is the son, and then they have a daughter. But this is the mom's boy. This is her prince.
Yep.
She's like, you have to treat him so well. And it's like, this man, I don't like him, so I'm already a little biased. But he
Right.
like actively told her that he liked her better when she was skinnier when they first met, when she actively had an eating disorder. He once smelled her breath because he was like, I bet you got an ice cap. I bet you like drank all these like calories. Like, let me like, I don't believe that you didn't do that. And I was like, oh yeah, but she's the problem. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. It's yeah. I think boy moms in general are a breed. They're scary. I just think that I don't know. I think I wasn't surrounded by a lot of Asian guys until my university, and even then it was just like, you know, a lot of them expect you to be, or at least a lot of the ones that I interacted with expected you to be K-pop girl, tiny waist, very demure, very innocent. And I was like, you were born in Canada. You also know how like Canadian girlies are and how like that's not really the stereotype of like the stereotype, sure, but like it's not real. Like, what do you mean? Like, I was once told by a guy that I wasn't submissive enough to be an Asian girl, and I was like, oh.
Ooh.
You might as well throw your Asian card away because he said so.
I was like, oh well, I guess
said
I'm just
so.
white now. I guess. Thanks. I didn't. My bad. I
Tell
didn't
the
realize
government.
there were stats I had to upkeep.
Yeah, you have to maintain at least an 8.7 out of 10 on a submissive scale.
Yeah. Like
if you
it's like points on your driver's
sorry.
license. If you get too many points, you have to take a submissive class.
Yeah.
I'm heartbroken. I
Oh.
love dominant women. This
They
is crushed
re-educate
my
you.
hopes and dreams.
Yeah, sorry, Dom Asian women don't exist. It's impossible.
Oh.
Women don't
Oh.
exist in general. That's what girl
Women
stands
are a
for.
lie.
Guy in real life.
Asian
Catch me
manosphere,
crying
listen
in
to
the
me
corner.
carefully. There are no women.
No women.
We're all Asian men in disguise.
Yes.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
all
Sorry.
men, all of us. The only one that isn't is Atra.
Of course.
Right.
Let me
He
just say
is
this though. Coming from like a very strong culture with very strong obligations and family dynamics, I 100% understand not wanting to marry into the same culture again and replicating all of those obligations and cultural dynamics again, and then raising your kids in the same cultural dynamics and expectations again. I get it 100%. Speaking as an Asian man.
I've got enough generational trauma in this bad boy to last me a lifetime.
Slaps the roof of us.
So I will say this: I grew up almost exclusively around Asians. I've heard all the discourse. I've heard my Asian guy friends rant about it. I was sympathetic.
Oh?
Now that I'm in my 30s, I get it though. I get why you don't want to go in. If you have a bad experience growing up in the culture, I get why you want to distance yourself from it though. So I will
Well, it's
never
also
judge
just, like-
anybody for like doing exogamy. Basically, that's what this is. It's called exogamy.
Oh, there's a term for it.
Yes.
I've never. This is new.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I see it a lot on like TikTok. Like if like these cute couples just literally just being like, "Oh, we went to this cafe and it just happens to be an Asian girl with a white man." And it's all these people in the comments being like, Harvard study, Harvard study, Harvard study.
Oh.
Just like nonstop, because I guess there was a Harvard study that showed that like Asian women are dating a lot of white men.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like I don't know. Like it just kind of gives like the same vibe as like when people are like, oh well, you know, why do like when black men are typically asked like, why do you date white women, and they're like, oh well, black women are this, and it's like, no, that doesn't answer the question, right? Like you're not answering the question of
This is people
why...
using race as a miscategorization for wealth and social class,
yeah.
actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
I just
not all Asians marry all white folks. There are some
Yeah, right?
Asians that marry very closely into black communities, and there's some Asians that marry into white communities. And money, wealth, is more closely correlated than race. In those
I've gotta
circumstances.
Yeah,
ask.
it's more into classism.
Yeah.
What was the age bracket of the test? And also, was it Asian
See?
Americans? Because that's
a good
really
question.
important.
I don't know.
No, because I will say older Asian women primarily are married to white men because of all the men who were stationed in the military
Yeah.
in Asia. That's how my grandma got here. And that's how all of the Korean women that she
Same.
hangs out with and golfs with got here. They married a white man and came here.
Oh, she
So,
golfs, that's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, it's a big it's one of
Korean
those like
grandma
it
thing,
tries
yeah.
to show you that like I am wealthy or well off. I golf.
I golf.
golf.
No, there's an actual.
Will you be our
like,
daddy?
It's an actual thing, like in the '60s, like all the Korean like middle class like girls were learning how to golf. Basically, if you were upperly mobile, it was a thing.
I
actually.
have actively stated that I would love to be a beer cart girl on a golf course because I will, again, fetishization for the bag. I will put my hair up in the
Right.
ponytails and be
Right.
the cute little kawaii girl for you. Give me money.
I will tip you
I-
extra.
I
Yes.
would if I could. I am 5'8", 5'9". I'm not. I built like a Viking woman.
That's okay. That's when you
God,
go for the
so-
girlies. Me.
If I could feed into it though, girl, I would. So like get that bag. Get that bag.
No, but for real, I think that's when I feel like Hooters wouldn't be going out of business if they rebranded to Dommy Mommies. Goth Dommy Mommies. We could have Goth Dommy Mommy Hooters. That's what I want. Sheesh. Millennials killing the Hooter industry.
Oh, also before we leave the topic, I do wonder, like, how many Asian moms, I'm saying Asian moms specifically because that's my point of reference, how many Asian moms want their daughters to marry a white man as a sign of status? Because I feel like that's my mom.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this last
Yes.
year, actually.
That's fair.
Oh yeah,
My
she
mom-
changed her mind.
Did she really?
She no longer likes Jewish men.
Oh.
She's been on Tiger Mom. Let's go.
Okay, so last year, I
Mom.
think I talked about this, but TLDR, my mom told me she wanted me to marry either a white man or a Jewish man, because according to her words not mine, her words not mine, Jewish men are rich.
Oh.
She has retracted her opinion because her
Oh.
words not mine, her words not mine, Jewish men are not loyal.
What?
Mm.
Wait, hang on. Was she harmed
Is
by
your-
someone, or is like where did this come
Is your mom
from?
single? You said is still to
This
this
is some
day?
Is your
WhatsApp
mom
group
single?
somewhere, I
Did
bet.
your mom go on a date with a Jewish man and get
She
cheated
went
on?
on a date and she was like, "Fuck this man." God damn.
As far as I know, no.
My mom, like, weirdly enough, was almost similar to that, like, of the, like, flip-floppiness, because, like, when we were growing up, again, very white area. So, like, she never told us actively to stay away from anything. But then when I came home with my ex-boyfriend who was white, she was like, why don't you want to date a Korean man? And this was, I would like to add, this was during her uprising into loving all things Korean.
Oh.
She is all about K-drama and K-pop right now.
Wait, your mom?
So, yes, she is
Oh.
very into all K-dramas, well, romance ones specifically, but she's just like, why not a Korean man? Why don't you want a man that looks like, and then she like pulls out one of the actors' faces and she's like, look at him. And I'm like, it's not that I don't, it's just that I meet who I meet. I don't know.
And why didn't she meet BTS? The
Yeah.
entirety of
God damn
BTS,
it.
so you could date
God
the
damn it.
entirety of
Well,
BTS?
there's no BTS
God
guy
damn it.
walking down Yonge Street in like Toronto, so or maybe there is. I've never been.
Skill issue.
God damn it! At BTS, hit me up. My mom wants to meet you.
Wow.
Oh, moms.
Moms.
I just have one
really.
anecdote because my mom, she's on her 4th marriage,
Oh.
and
Oh.
I am half Caucasian. My brother is half African American, and then she went back to being with Filipinos, and
Full
I
circle
think
moment.
it really, honestly, but then she still talks shit about how shitty Filipino men are, but then it's kind of like, I'm not
She
saying
said I
all
ran out
men,
of
but all
options.
men.
I feel
And
like
then I ended up marrying
like-
a white man.
I feel like our parents' generation is very like, they're just like, oh well, you know, let me tell you all of my thoughts about all of these different brackets. Like my parents were like, don't date an immigrant Asian, and I was like, that's very specific. Why? And they were like, well, because we don't want you to move to China, and he will make you move to China. And I was like, oh, okay, great, okay. I don't know what to say to that.
Huh.
Not
Never heard that one before.
not gonna lie, you might want to take that offer.
It might help you.
Yeah. They're
No
ready
tariffs
it.
for you, Pookie.
Oh, no tariffs for me, BB. Oh, yeah, no.
Well,
Uh-huh.
they're in Canada, so they don't have tariffs anyway.
Oh,
I mean, we got your guys' tariffs.
There.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not your fault, BB. Never apologize. I just think it's so funny because everybody keeps talking about it, and I'm just like, I don't know. People will be like, "Hey, are you coming to this con?" And I was like, "The government of Canada told me not to."
I need you to smuggle me stuff and
I got you.
snacks.
I will. I literally will.
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to this in chat, but like there is a sense of propriety that I think the Asian manosphere has over Asian women that I think needs to be addressed, because like if you have a lack of success in the dating market, that's not on Asian women because they don't owe you anything.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like this is very much you're using race as a displacement for class, honestly. Because at the end of the day, they're not marrying like specifically white men; they're marrying wealthy men. So, step your game up.
All I can say for me is like, I'm not gonna marry someone just because like they're white or Chinese. I'm gonna marry someone
right.
if they're nice, treats me well, has some money,
Treat your
Right.
girl
Right.
like a
and I
princess.
can see a future with him. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very valid. Treat them like princesses.
People marry
Everybody's
within
like,
the
I'm
social class.
accepting application. I'm kidding.
Can I ask a question really quick? I think it should be a fast answer. I'm pretty sure
Go for it.
we'll all have the. Pointy Olive asked. They said
yes.
that there's moments in movies, TV shows, and sometimes anime that had one parent, mainly the father, always putting pressure on the eldest child or all children to get perfect grades. My question is that something that is common, uncommon, or rare in the Asian community? Or is it just a Chinese and or Japanese stereotype?
Oh, it's true.
Oh, it's
True.
true.
And it
Yeah,
is
very
100%
It's
true.
expected.
Very, very fast answer.
Yes,
It's
true.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My family told me that if I got anything under a 90, I would be grounded.
You got to get 90s.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah. That was
Oh.
the. And then when I got to university, my mom was like, "I guess you can take 80s," and I was like, "Oh, thanks, mom. Thank you." Mhm.
It was
We
so,
take those
it was all
wins.
so wild hearing about like other kids in school being like, "Oh my god, I got a B! Like my parents got me a present." I'm like, "What? I get
Bro,
an A,"
right.
and my mom's like, "That's what you should be
Do
doing."
better.
Yeah. I come
My
home with a
school-
B and I get the fucking slipper.
Beated.
Yeah. God
No, I
damn.
don't come
Get
home.
beated.
I get a B and I stay home or I stay back at school. I live there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just this is my home. I'm never going back.
I was a B student in a school that was 70% Asian, so you can imagine what my life was like.
No.
Yeah,
It
my
was
school
good
really
motivation.
small,
Everyone was
so-
working very hard, but holy shit.
Little
school
Timmy
was
got
really small, so
100%.
people were
Why
like-
did you miss this one question?
Yeah, right.
Mom, I did my best.
I was
You didn't
taking
understand
7
this? You don't know how to
APs by
spell
senior year.
because? I'm dyslexic. Oh no! This is a real story.
Damn.
I got 100, or I almost got 100% on a fucking spelling test, and I misspelled because the vowels look the same to me.
Mhm.
And they had to call my dad in and sit him down, and I respelled because 3 times wrong.
Oh no.
How old were you?
Oh yeah, but it's 100% real.
were you
The pressure,
were you like
as an Asian.
baby? I
Uh,
imagine?
I was like, what? First grade, I think.
Oh no, you poor thing.
Yeah. And they were like, "You never tell your mother. Do you understand me?" And I was like, "Okay."
What?
And then Dad sat me down, and he was like, "Because." I was like, "Okay, Dad, I get it. I got it. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Does she
I
not
feel
know
like-
still?
Does your mom know?
Does your mom know?
No.
Did you ever find out?
No, so if you knew me when I was younger, it was very apparent, incredibly apparent I was on the spectrum. As I've gotten older, I've kind of figured out like the ways to not make it as awkward for other people when I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But my mom, I remember she was on the phone with my grandma and looking at me, and she's like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with her. Something's wrong with her. And I was like, she's never gonna find out. She's never gonna find out.
Oh,
A dyslexic, autistic Korean girl? No. I think not.
Oh my god, you poor thing.
Yeah. But you know, realistically, I think it was the same upbringing we all got. It was just the stereotypical disappointment of like, there's always something wrong. Even if I wasn't that, I think they still would have found something wrong.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
fair. I only just got my ADHD diagnosis this year or last year, sometime now, and my mom. I told this story to my chat. My mom is very open. I will add a trigger warning for child loss and all of that. My mom was very open when we were younger that she had 2 miscarriages, and she would tell random people. When we were at the mall, she would just casually strike up conversation with someone and then be like, "Oh yes, these are my children. I had 2 miscarriages," and I'd be like, "What?" And I remember growing up thinking that was like a normal conversation to have. Turns out it is not. But I
Right.
remember when I told my mom, like, "Look, I have the diagnosis." My mom, I was like, she's like, "Well, what did I do wrong with you?" And I was like, "Well, you didn't do anything wrong. It's like very similar to like, how you would have seen your miscarriages. Like it's something, sometimes it just happens. Like it's just there." And she was like, "This is worse than the miscarriages." And I was like, "What?"
Oh my god.
And she was like, "Yeah, this is
Jeez.
worse." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Thanks, Mom. That's great." But now she's in the acceptance stage of Googling things, and she's like, apparently ADHD folk are smart. And she's like, "That's why you're smart." And I'm like, "Okay, Mom. I'm an anime
take those
girl on
wins.
the internet, but okay."
You know, we take that win.
Yeah,
Wait,
we'll take the W.
Yeah.
I am curious though.
You are smart though.
Oh,
Yeah, you're smart. I'm curious. What was like your experience of getting your ADHD diagnosis? Did you feel like it was affected by like your upbringing? Because I feel like I have ADHD, and I've been looking into it, and I haven't gotten a professional
1000%.
diagnosis. But I'm like, I think
Probably have
so.
it myself.
And yet,
Yeah.
and yet I feel like because of my upbringing,
Mhm.
it drove into getting perfect grades, being quiet and obedient. I feel like that goes so strongly against the stereotypical idea of an ADHD kid.
That's why there were studies done, and Asian girls are the smallest demographic that have ADHD, quote unquote, have it, because they
Yes.
don't often get tested, because usually you think of ADHD and you think of that 7-year-old boy who's bouncing off the walls.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I was very lucky, I think, when I went for my diagnosis. I like actively sat this man down and I was like, listen, I know I have good grades. I know it says I have a master's degree, but I shit you not, I don't remember anything because it was all the night before. Like I don't, and like he was very helpful because he was very like, oh, I was the same way. Like he was a white man, but he was like, when I was studying to be like a doctor, like everybody thought that I was fine, but like didn't see all the work that you put in to be quote unquote fine. So yeah, yeah, what it's definitely not the way I think people think ADHD is, but I do think being brought up in an Asian home, it definitely like it teaches you to mask the issue, right?
Right.
And yeah, I think we're slowly maybe moving towards understanding things, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also with ADHD, so I went in, I did this whole thing back in high school when they were like, something's wrong with you. There's two forms of ADHD. It used to be called ADD. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yes.
But it's
attention
now
deficit disorder.
ADHD, primarily hyperactive and primarily distractive. And both can be developed, because you were asking if it could be from upbringing. If you're feeling overstressed and you force yourself to disassociate because it's too much pressure, things like that, like you can build up ADHD because of like just situations domestically. So
I don't know if building up is the correct word. Like it's not really something like you develop. You know what I mean?
No, it absolutely is. It can be. There's different forms of it. So like not everybody is born primarily distractive.
So you
but
mean
if,
like how it manifests?
Yeah, eventually it will.
Oh, I thought you were talking about just having ADHD as a whole. I was like, I don't know if you like are quote unquote neurotypical for a bit and then all of a sudden you have ADHD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's like it. Hard to
It's
explain,
like trauma-induced
like,
distractibility.
Yeah, trauma will hit you, and then boom, it shows itself.
Okay.
Like you're predisposed to it, but then it'll hit you like a ton of bricks, eventually.
That makes sense.
Or sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't show until like later in life or never. Yeah. Yep.
This is fascinating. Thank you for sharing, actually.
You're welcome.
Oh, here's an interesting question from Marshmallow. Give me 1 sec to pull it up. Not to sound horrible. You know, good questions always start that way.
That's always a great way.
What?
It reminds me of all the times, I'm sure you guys have gotten them too, when people will come up to you being like, not to sound racist, but what are you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But where are you from?
Are great.
Yeah. What kind of Asian are you?
But if I asked for anyone's nationality, I would get it all wrong. Being a VTuber, I know some do use their heritage with their VTuber persona. How important is your Asian background to who you are as a VTuber?
Mine is everything. It's the whole reason that I made my VTuber. The whole reason that I was able to share being a Manananggal with people. Yeah, it's really important. Because there's like 3 Manananggal VTubers that I know of.
You're the first one I know. Yeah.
And just to delve into it, I was ready for this. But for example, Manananggal is a cryptid that back in colonial Philippines, they took the native stories and they're actually known as like a body splitter. So the reason there's like a womb tattoo on the abdomen, because traditionally they're actually supposed to be split in half at the waist, and then it's almost a succubus, like, you know, a very alluring woman during the day. And trigger warning for like what Pocky mentioned before about child loss. Their top half flies around with bat-like wings and looks for pregnant women, and they have a proboscis-like tongue that sucks the babies out of, expecting mothers.
Oh,
And
dang.
this was a way for them to not only separate, the female from their anatomy, but also lean into the trope of like, the harlot, the alluring woman is going to break up your home. And a lot of modern manananggal representation is about reclaiming that in your, identity, that your feminine divine is what it is, versus being this, evil entity that is just a baby sucker.
Yeah.
So, and
succubus,
Holy shit.
Huntress,
so interesting.
baby
That goes
killer.
deep.
Yeah.
Literally. So that's within my own stuff that was really important for me to communicate. And being in the diaspora, there's so many of our stories as Filipinos that are lost. Like my mom would tell me stories from, the motherland, homeland, that I hope to convey like through my lore and identity. And that's why I say like I very much represented it, because it gives me an outlet to do so, instead of just like, hey, look at me, and like trying to communicate it like verbally.
Yeah, for me, I would probably
so
never try to use like Indian like gods or mythology or anything of that sort as a VTuber model, because those are still
Why so?
active uses of those are still actively worshipped as like people's sacred symbols, and you never want to do that for things that are actively worshipped. And this is why certain indigenous things, and I can't even say the thing that it is.
Don't say it.
I know, I won't say
Oh,
it. I won't say it. But there's a certain entity that a lot of people use as a VTuber that
can somebody say it
They
in
should
side
not.
chat, because I'm smooth brained?
I will find a Wikipedia page.
yeah, find a Wikipedia
At least I
page.
think this is what you're talking about. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I'm fucking stupid, but
Yes. But exactly. Like these are things that when people don't have the full cultural context.
Oh yes, that one. Yes,
Yeah.
I've been to Arizona. I'm terrified.
Yeah. They don't have the full cultural context. They make a VTuber concept on it. It becomes such a painful thing for people, honestly.
Mm-hmm. It's actually part of the reason why I chose to go more in the Eldritch direction, because with the way I was going before, that was more the cryptid direction. Tentacles.
Tentacles.
But yeah, the way I was going previously with my previous design and leaning more in the cryptid side, I was getting like comparisons to that, and I was like, I'ma just sidestep that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like to me, I can be Asian without using the Asian culture as a costume or as like as a concept, because I can be a VTuber and Asian in different ways, and this is one way. Yes,
You
like,
do a great job at
gestures
it.
to like the studio that we're in right now, or like
I was even just gonna say, like, I mean, like, even like you're still Asian, regardless of the way that you put. Like, I think that's like something that I think people sometimes forget, especially with like models. Like, it's hard to quote unquote tell, I guess, sometimes, where it's like, oh, well, just because like you don't necessarily advertise it doesn't mean you aren't. Like, I know we talked about that earlier about how like, sometimes you guys feel more like just creators who just happen to be Asian, and that's like fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have no lore. I'm purple, cute baby, that's it.
Just a girl.
And so I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl, and because of that, and because I talk a lot about my IRL life, it comes up very often. But in my model itself, no, I'm just here.
I mean, that being said, I think of like all the Korean tiger male VTubers I know, and frankly, it's a sick, awesome concept. And so it goes both ways. It's good, but you don't have to do it either, Yeah.
I think VTubing is whatever you want it to be, obviously within reason, but like this is meant to be a space to have fun, right? Like you build your character, you're spending money to make this persona. It should be something you enjoy looking at and you think represents you when you're showing it, like, and whether or not it has to have your culture in it, and you want to represent your culture through it, or if that's not what you're going for, I think either way's fine. I think they're both,
Either way,
cute,
just don't
have fun.
appropriate something you saw that you think looks cool, because you're gonna make a very expensive mistake, and you're gonna get a lot of people mad at you on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
know
not even
your
that,
know
you're
your
gonna, like-
background and your audience.
I think
Oh, yeah.
my like biggest thing though is like it's not even like that. It's like, do you want to call that shit? No, like stop it. It reminds me of like all the times when like my chat, bless their souls, sometimes there will be this random person who's just like, you are so beautiful. You're more beautiful than insert goddess name here. And I was like, do you want me to die? Like, I don't care if you don't
Pitchforks
believe.
are coming.
I'm not saying I believe, but what I think is that I don't want to toe the line. I don't want to die. I don't want to. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm good. I no.
Absolutely. All right, chat. This is your last call for questions for our panel. We will start to wrap it up soon. One sort of final question I have for our chat, our panel. I keep calling you chat for some reason. I do apologize.
We are your
chat.
hi,
chat.
I'm Chat.
We
Chat-
also identify
chat is
as
real.
chat.
And it's just
We are
about like
chat
parenthood and motherhood in particular. And the question is
Oh.
this: if you were to have a daughter, or if you have a daughter, what would your hope be as you raise them as an Asian American or Asian Canadian girl?
Jeez.
That's heavy.
That's a
can,
very packed
That's a heavy
question.
I'll go. I'm currently a hot stepmom.
Oh, word!
So I
yeah.
have two
Oh,
I
and your
have
fam
two
is very adorable, by the way.
Tinkies. But they are Caucasian, and it's so that one it's been really unique. I've been with them since they were little, so like 3. The oldest one is 14. So also incorporating my culture. I was actually recently cute. The little one is now 10 years old, and this year she got gifted a it's actually a manananggal, but it's also known as a tik-tik in certain parts of the Philippines. And my sister-in-law went to I think it was like an Asian American down in California street fair or something, and there was an author that made a children's book called, I think, The Littlest Tik-Tik, and it was like a girl's name, and it was a storybook to, not, like I said, stop demonifying the cryptid. And she got gifted that, so she identifies, and they not identifies with it, but like resonates that that's my culture. They call me mama, and they eat spam rice and eggs in the morning.
Well,
they
yes.
eat sinigang.
True moments.
So identifying that, but I always understand that they still have, and they are 1/4 Native American as well, and they don't have a lot of connection to that side of their family either. So this has given them a little bit like of the culture that they have. But I also resonate that if and when I do have my own children, that I would make it sound in their identity to be strong in their identity, and of course their femininity, whatever that looks like for them, or if not, like if they're like, fuck it, I don't like gender norms, I don't want to be a girl, like that's up to them. But I would still probably do the same thing that I'm doing now in the culture sharing, and empowering them. And like, people, when I think of myself, I've been on the internet for 22 years. 13 of those have been in adult work. And one day they're going to find that out. Maybe they already know kind of in the background, because they are like, men make a lot of compliments to you.
No.
You get a lot of gifts to the house. And that's something that I would, toe the line to share with them, and be like, that's completely okay to be comfortable in your sexuality and how you portray yourself. So that's my 2 cents.
Lovers. I like hearing you talk about it.
We
I don't know, if no one
actually-
has intention of like having a children, it's okay.
That too, yes.
No.
My dog's name is Tofu.
Oh, how cute!
Does that count?
The culture sharing.
Culture sharing. She's a white
Yeah,
dog.
actually, I do actually want to rephrase that question. Let me rephrase
Okay.
the question actually. What is your hope for like the next generation of Asian American girls growing up in this country, and in
There you
Canada
go.
or the United States?
Oh. That's also loaded.
No, but
Yeah,
Keep their
I guess
money.
I guess I guess it's very much so like it reminds me of that like comment that I was making about like you don't have to be submissive just because people may ask you to be or people may want you to be.
Mm.
Like I think that like is it great to go and like be in your culture? Absolutely. And I think it's less now, but when I was growing up, I probably would have said that like you don't have to feel afraid to be different than them. Like I grew up very
Right.
much so wanting to be white because I was surrounded by white people. Like I wanted the blue eyes, I wanted the blonde hair, and like I think that would be like my big thing for a young girl, just being like you are beautiful even if you know you don't fit what you might see in like media or around you. Like you yourself are beautiful, and it's not like you don't have to be white to be beautiful kind of thing.
100%.
100%. It's a really beautiful sentiment, actually.
Thanks, it comes from trauma.
Yeah, that's a great T-shirt.
Can I get a clip
This
of
is
that,
hard.
Comes from
please?
trauma.
I want that voice clip.
Please.
Somebody's like, "Oh my god, I love that about you." I'm just gonna play that voice clip.
Bro, I say that all the time. Everybody will come into my chat and they'll be like, "Oh my god, you're so funny," and I'm like, "Thanks, I'm traumatized."
Yeah.
It's from trauma.
Oh my god.
It's so bad, but I bought our 14-year-old a shirt that literally says "Thanks, it's the trauma." Because she always
That's so funny though.
because
I
she'll
would
talk
wear that.
about being divorced. Like we're going like to get her makeup swatched at Ulta, and then she's like, "Can I have 2 of these because I need one for each of my houses because my parents are divorced." I'm like, "You don't need to tell
She is
the
so
makeup counter
funny.
lady that.
No, wait, good.
Just wear the shirt."
Mood. Honestly, that's so funny. I'm sorry. That's
That's sending.
funny.
The sentience.
I will say the longer, right, the further we get into the generations, the more mixed everybody's going to become, right? There's going to be a lot more me's out there. And there's a lot of lack of belonging, right? Lack of feeling like you belong in any circle, right? Like if I go into a group of all white people, I obviously look different. But if I go into a group of all Asian peoples, I obviously look different. I hope that as the country becomes more mixed, there's more solidarity. Where like it kind of gets real lonely, right? Like even like just amongst this panel, right? I'm pretty sure I have the smallest amount of Asian out of all of us.
Doesn't make you any
And-
less Asian.
Yeah, and I think it comes a lot from like where you grew up, right? Because I had a lot of that culturally learned trauma. And
That's the thing that binds us all together.
Screenshot this and just
Right.
write "Thanks, it's the trauma" on the screenshot.
yeah,
Honestly,
it's,
I feel like that's how you should respond if people start coming for you for that. Just be like, actually, I also was beat for my grades.
right.
So I feel like I'm a part of this.
Listen, like we
Yeah.
had never had a conversation prior to this, Xandria, but like I knew I wanted you to be part of this because you have a place here too.
Yeah, it's actually in almost 3 years of streaming, it's my first time being invited to an AAPI like collab, which is crazy because it comes up quite often that I am Korean. And I was like, wow, oh, like this is my first time. Oh my god, yay! Right, like, yay!
Well, I'm glad to be
But-
the first one.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite a lot, and like, I feel like all of us got to bring different perspectives, you know, and I think that was important too, because us mixed girlies, it's hard. It's hard out here. I hear you. I see you. I recently made a friend he's also mixed. He's Korean Italian. I don't know if you guys know J1, but he and I bonded over that. Like, the slurs we get are different, right? We get called a mutt. I got called Heinz 57, right? Like,
Oh,
That's a
Wow.
new one. I haven't heard that one before.
yeah. Or being an Asian with freckles. I get made fun of for that all the time. Where it's like, oh, I'll write Dalmatian. The yellow Dalmatian was one I got, and I was gagged. But yeah, it's there's different things that you face when you don't exactly look 100% Asian, and it's like or like people think you're trying to appropriate a culture that's not yours, and now I have to go into defense mode where it's like, no, look at my grandma, here's a photo, right? Like
Prove your Asian card. Asianness, yes.
yeah,
Show me your papers.
proving I'm Asian. It's a really big thing, actually. Like Chase and I have been going to the pool because he wants to get a tan, and like all the trauma from like just not being really like the pale beautiful, right? Like the way that my grandma would want me to look, it freaks me out. I was like, honey, I'm covering up. I don't want a tan. I just need the sun for vitamin D, because without it, I'm vitamin depression, right? Like,
Very valid.
I take vitamin D supplements.
Yeah, I have them. I have them in my
Touch
cupboard.
grass. Who needs it? That's me.
Right. Right.
Stay home. Avoid. There's people out there.
But it's like the color of my skin is one of the only things that shows, because it's like, you know, it's not the basic pale. It's got that yellow tinge, if you will.
Wait, IRL or your model?
Golden.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. It's and so I'm like, I'm so afraid of losing that, because now I'm gonna have to battle people. Like, no. I am. Look, when I smile, my eyes, they're gone. Look at that. Look at that. That's it. Yeah. But
like, whether or not it shows in your face or your skin, you always have your heart and your experiences and
yeah.
what your Korean
trauma.
grandmother gave you. So
Sorry.
and yes, the trauma. Thank you, Pocky.
I'm sorry. I just like, in my head, it's so silly that it's like, oh well, you have to prove it when like you've gone through what we've
Right.
gone through.
Right.
You have your
exactly.
Asian identity, you have your Asian culture, you have your Asian background,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
most importantly,
Your
you have your
Korean
Asian
grandma-
trauma.
Yes.
Your Korean grandma actively talk, or I don't know actively, but like actively did talk about your weight. That's basically just Asian culture right there.
Everyone's getting their Asian trauma card at the end of this podcast.
Yay!
Yeah, you just have to come by the podium. I'll validate it on your way out.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You just have to talk about like one moment. You got bit.
Get it laminated, keep it in your wallet.
Mhm. Don't lose it.
We all have to stand in line. All right, next. Oh, well, my experience was this. Oh, you passed. Next.
No, this one time my mom said that I was losing weight, and then she looked at me and she went, "Not in your face, though."
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, thanks, mom.
Oh,
That's nice. Thank you."
I,
If it makes you feel
I
better,
was
my mom says
gonna
that to me
audition.
too. So
Oh.
she says it makes me look
Oh.
old.
oh, bro.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think
It just
I've been
gets
like,
worse.
I've been trying to think about like what I would want if, in the rare occasion I had a child, which very very unlikely, but I guess
Tell a
if
younger
I-
version of you, maybe.
a younger version of me. I think I'll just say that I guess my biggest hope for the next or future generations of Asian Americans is I hope that maybe one day we won't. I hesitate to say shadowed by, because we're still our own vibrant people outside of that, but I guess I hope that there comes a day where there's no more burden from our parents, from our grandparents, from the older generations to abide by a certain standard or follow a certain set of rules. I hope that one day a generation of girls will be able to do what they want, not for rebellion or for fear or for following orders, but just because they want to.
That's a beautiful sentiment. I strongly agree.
Damn
with
it. Gonna make me cry.
that.
What are you gonna do now? Tell me you're proud of me?
Oh.
Yeah!
Oh.
Yeah,
Not easy
I am
podcast.
proud of you.
I am
and
proud.
you've done an amazing
Well,
job.
Well, now we
The
have to
fuck
get
are you
married.
gonna say, huh?
Now we have to get married. You can't just say
Give
that
me
to
your
me.
hand.
All right, I'm ready.
I
Fun
have
fact,
a
that's how
ring.
That's how I met one of my
She came
moms.
prepared.
because I joked something about I knew he was Asian, and I think I sent a photo of like my new PC that I built myself, and he's like, nice. Or no, it was my affiliate. I hit affiliate, and he was like, I'm proud of you, and I was like, pause, sir. My parents don't say that to me. You're not allowed to say that to me. Now we have to get married. Like this feels inappropriate.
Yeah, what next? Are you gonna say you love me?
That's crazy. You're gonna say you're sorry for doing something to me? No.
I'd rather you ask for pictures of my feet.
Right. I love to think that Revity just keeps an engagement ring in her pocket at all times.
It's in me.
And she's like, oh my
Wait,
god,
that sounds dirty. Wait, no, hang on,
proposed.
not like that.
Uh-huh.
I'll be your pocket.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, and that's
why
not
they
dirty
call her
either?
pocket.
That was the save?
Oh my.
No, well, the other one came out a little too quick, I think.
Oh, I'll have to watch it in the VOD. I missed it, but I'll timestamp it.
Oh no.
I'll share it to everybody.
This is how my Google Dark starts. Was too lewd on Twitch.
White background, black text.
If that's where it starts, that's also where it ends.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
I have a hashtag for it if it ever came to it. Hashtag take out the trash.
Stop.
Oh.
I don't want to be, but I thought it was so funny. And I was
That's
like, well,
hilarious.
can't not
No,
make
that's
that
great.
joke now, except you
Right.
know I'm terrified of people, so
People are scary.
yeah, getting tagged in posts now. I'm like, whew, no, please no.
Jump
I
scare.
love that, but I hate that, but I love that, but I hate that.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's why you love it.
Yes.
That's why Atra had to preface the tweet was going out. We knew.
We knew
Right.
beforehand. I was not scared of seeing my experience with.
Well,
We cry.
this has been episode 2, Asian American Femininity and Fetishization. I want to extend a massive thank you to our panelists, Hime, Pocket, Revity, and Zandria, for bringing their diverse perspectives to today's panel. I learned quite a bit, and I really, really value the conversation that we've had here today. Chat, thank you very, very much for your questions and for being respectful for our panelists here today. We're going to give our panelists a chance to do some plugs and tell us what they have going on. Starting with Hime.
Oh gosh, I'm not used to being first. I have my 2.0 coming in soon, and we're getting we're getting our mascot. I don't know yet. I have to rig myself, but my model is getting finished. And then we have our chat mascot Boboy. It's gonna be rigged, and the joke is Bobo in Filipino actually means like dumb. So
I love that so
but he's
much.
and then it's like a Filipino joke for Boboy. And yeah, I just have that going on and trying to, I don't know, get the lore out there.
Hime, thank you very, very much. Hime was my co-host for today's podcast. They slammed down so many points for me for brainstorming and really helped me to get the ball rolling when I was panicking last week trying to get this thing assembled. So
You did
Hime,
amazing.
Thank you very, very much. And the two of us, will be working together on a follow-up to this about specifically sex work and porn and Asian porn. So stay tuned for that. Pocket, you're up next.
Oh shit. Hey.
Hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey! I don't think I have anything specific going on. There's a lot of things I'm supposed to be doing. But I am currently just kind of vibing through the things, trying to do more song covers, trying to get a little bit
Song
more
covers?
art. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to do a little few things, but I at some point in July, maybe, or August, I will maybe have my VR model ready.
Oh, nice.
But it's technically ready now. It's just all my VR stuff is hidden away because I bribed my friend to buy a house with me because who can buy a house on their
Oh.
own? So we're moving in July. So kind of
Congratulations.
thank
Congrats.
That's huge.
you.
Easy.
Yeah,
It's a big
so
deal.
very excited. The joke is Tofu bought it. She's gonna probably take up all the space anyways, so we'll see. But yeah, the only real big thing is my wife, my lovely bestie Sylvana Fox, is partner pushing right now, and she
Yes.
celebrated her 2.0, and she looks so heckin' cute.
yay!
So I have nothing but go look at her because she bootyful. Mm-hmm.
You said
That-
Sylvana Fox. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm typing.
Mhm.
Okay,
With
there.
two
Okay.
Put it in your
X's.
chat, Atra,
Just
or is
DM it
that
to me.
weird? I got you. I'm gonna put in the side chat.
You could put in
Send me the
Twitch
Twitch
chat
link.
also. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah.
want to be rude.
No, it's fine. You can plug literally anything you want. I've taken up 2.5 hours. of your
Plugging
time in
Atra right
exchange.
now.
Thank you, Tay. Pocket, thank you so much. Honestly, like I admire you so very much because you're so passionate and like beneath the bubbliness, you are so fucking brilliant. And it's always just a joy to talk to you.
Aw, thanks. I'm just a
Aw.
girl. What the heck? I always love hanging out with y'all.
I love hanging out with you too.
Yeah, no, your podcasts are always a lot of fun. I miss Mystique. I won't lie. Ripperoonie. I never get to see her anymore. Schniffle.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, Rev, you're up next.
Oh, I started
booty
doing I started doing lewd stuff.
Let's fucking
you
go.
Yeah. I started doing full-on NSFW roleplay audios on my Patreon. I'm considering possibly making a fansly in the future,
Do
but
it.
for now I'm focusing on the Patreon. I'm
That's
revamping revamping my Discord server, revamping like everything.
Yay.
Revamping.
That's huge.
Revamping.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm putting in a lot of work there, as well as just more work on my off-stream presence, like making edited clips, edited highlights. So I'm just making a lot of stuff.
Congratulations. I have a random question. Do people often in your community call you mommy?
Yes.
Okay, you heard it here first, chat. It's Mother's Day weekend in North America, and if you've called her mommy, buy her a gift. I don't have your throne on me, but
It's
go to her
obligatory.
throne. Do it.
Uh-huh.
Completely unintentional. This fell on Mother's Day weekend, actually. I didn't realize it.
Oh, happy early Mother's Day to the
Yeah.
actual mom
Yes.
here, by the way.
Yes.
Right,
Happy
yes.
actual mother.
Happy actual Mother's
You guys go give Cinda a gift right now. Scoot.
Oh,
Do you have gifts? Gifts.
we have the house.
That's fair. More
Yeah.
gifts.
Rev
Snacks.
works incredibly hard, and the results always show. And again, brilliant, smart, just a joy to talk to, and very excited to see what you do. Honestly, I think it that actually makes all 8 panelists from yesterday and today all making NSW content. It's interesting.
Oh, wait, all of
Completely
them?
unintentional. All of them, yes. Everybody.
Well, I thought somebody said earlier today that they were more lewd some.
Or,
That was
or will
Andrea.
be. Yeah. Or
Oh.
eventually will be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Going all the way.
Yeah. Well, Zandra, you're up next. What you got going on?
So I've kind of been on hiatus for a while. I'm not gonna get fully into it, but like I was kind of scared away from the community. There's we all know it. There's some bad people out there. I've been going to cons. I met them in person, especially some of the bigger streamers. Some of them are not great people. So I've been taking time to consider whether or not I should still fully deep dive. And I've decided we are going to.
Let's fucking go.
And I have some covers in the works, some collabs, and some other. I'm going to make my debut musically and lewdly. So
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
At the same time. No.
they're gonna be
Lewd
pretty-
covers.
pretty
Lewd
back to back.
karaoke.
Lewd convers.
I recently had a company reach out for a collab for something lewd, and I was
Let's
like,
go.
oh, that's a really good opportunity. I really don't want to miss this. So I think it's a good opportunity to take the time and finally do the thing.
Mhm.
But if you girlies are ever available to talk about it, I'm kind of nervous.
I got you, BB.
just kind of, I just
Mystique
need
was
people to psych
my-
me up because I'm
that's
so
fair.
worried.
I'll
Like,
psych you up.
I don't know if it helps at all, but like from when I was first starting, people very much so told me that like it is okay if you try it and you decide, JK, I don't want to do this.
Absolutely.
You know what I
that
mean?
is
Like
honestly
you,
really helpful. Because
Yeah,
it does
like-
kind of feel like you start it and you cement yourself in it.
Yeah,
But like,
no,
you're super right.
don't listen to nobody who's like, well, lewd tubing is just for numbers. Honestly, they're just sad because they have no personality and are probably short. I don't know.
And probably have
Yes.
yes.
I know,
Small
I'm
PP
somebody
energy.
that does it recreationally when I'm feeling myself, and I'm like, hey, if you want to pay to see me in my bits, and that's how I do it. So
Yeah. You do whatever you want to do. Take your time. I've actually found Funsley community to be very, very, very sweet and very much so. I haven't had any issues so far, knock on wood, that of anybody trying to like push any boundaries. So you got this. You're
Yeah.
wonderful.
And if you
Mhm.
want
Hey,
to
thank you.
maybe
I
hear from
appreciate it.
some creators that have made sort of the quote-unquote lewd pivot, you check out episode 48 of the podcast, which features a certain pocket trash talking about
Wow!
making that transition from
Hee-hee.
SFOE
Plug.
streaming to lewd tubing.
Hee hee.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mystique for holding my hand the whole time. I was like, I don't know how to do this, and she sent me a whole list, and I was like, noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary, like the prospect. But I feel like once I get into it, I'll be okay. It's just taking that leap that I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It
take your
took me
time.
so long to like get over that mental block in my head. I was like, oh, I can't do it, and then I did, and I was like, oh, okay.
It took me like 6 months to go from like starting to stream to actually like using toys, for example. So you just take all the time you need, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's scary.
You're doing great.
The hardest part is starting.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Xander,
unless
this
you're talking about
was-
other parts.
I was gonna make that joke, but I was like, I shouldn't. I've been too
The hardest
lewd.
part is me. Hey, anyway.
Ah.
Xander, this was an excellent conversation, and I just admire your conviction and like standing up for what you believe in, and just everything that you've brought to the podcast today. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to having you back on again.
No, thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, I've been your host, AtramentumX. This is episode 2 of a 5-part series for AAPI month, including possibly the sex work episode that I will be workshopping over the next couple of weekends. Yeah. This will be on the YouTube channel eventually. We are launching the Asian American and Canadian VTuber network. It is now currently up. I'll be putting in chat in a sec. And yeah, we will be signing off for now. Have a wonderful night, everybody.